Hey truckers, here is part 3 of Crazy Detective. Let's dive into the video. Zhao Yu had decided that he would fight Chu Ping and Team B to the death. He always sat attentively at his office desk, carefully eavesdropping on Team B's every action, even forgetting to use the bathroom. As he expected, Chu Ping and Team B focused mainly on Zhang Jingfeng and Liang Huan's newest evidence and immediately focused on figuring out the source of the one-sided film. The type of one-sided film was rarely imported. Within a few hours they had already found all of the people who had recently bought the product. Immediately afterwards, they quickly started investigating the buyers. Team leader Chu Ping almost mobilized the entire team for this. But when the results from the investigation came back, bad results came one after another. As it turned out, the one-sided film had been purchased by performance groups, some used it for magic, and some for setting up the stage. Even though not many performance groups purchased it, every group that did purchased a huge amount. According to the distributor, the one-sided films were not cheap, but most people had no use for it. Within the groups they were not guarded by any specific personnel, and were usually thrown in the storage room. Regardless of who they were, workers, other performers, or even audience members, anyone could take some and leave. Because of the chaotic situation, if they really wanted to continue down this road, the workload was going to be difficult. From the looks of it, this evidence was pointless, and they were back to square one. Hearing this, not only Chu Ping and her team members, but even the eavesdropping Zhao Yu felt despair. It seemed like they were still underestimating the culprit's abilities. This person's execution and planning were flawless, with no openings at all. He was a genius of crime. Even though following the trail of the one-sided film was almost useless, Chu Ping did not give up completely. She still left 2 investigators on the scene to continue the investigation, but everyone else was transferred back to the office. This time, Chu Ping undoubtedly felt great pressure. If she failed to solve the lost hand case, it was very possible that she would follow in the previous team leader's footsteps and be forced to resign. But Chu Ping had already exhausted all of her strength, having already pulled out all of the evidence and thoroughly examining them. But by this point, besides not even having caught the culprit, she could not even give a decent description of them yet. Compared with her spotless record, this was unprecedented. Soon, it was almost dawn, and despite the team continuing their tireless analysis, the talking slowly died down. Zhao Yu was the only person in the Team A section of the office. He laid down on the desk for a long time, but heard nothing from the eavesdropper. It seemed that Chu Ping's crew were at their limit. Holy sh*t Zhao Yu turned around and carefully stared at his own whiteboard. On the center of the whiteboard was the number 4.26. This number represented April 26th. Last year, the first case happened on April 22nd. The second case occurred 4 days later on April 26th. Most up-to-date NVELs are published on n0velgen.co/m. Coincidentally, this year's incident had also happened on April 22nd. Thus, the investigators were all worried that this year would repeat the last, and that there would be a 4th incident on the 26th. If a 4th incident occurred, then the consequences would be heavy. The media would surely stir a huge commotion, and the police officers involved would be heavily criticized. Right now, the entire office was covered with a thick gloom. It was already past dawn on April 25th. If the culprit really was readying for another attack, then there really was not that much time left for the police. But the culprit, who is it? Zhao Yu scratched his head and continued to ponder the case without stop. Regarding this case, besides following Chu Ping's ideas, Zhao Yu also had his own ideas. He held on to an incomplete idea, feeling that the reason why this case was taking too long to solve may not have been because the culprit was sneaky, but because of Chu Ping's idea being wrong from the start. Such as the fact that although Chu Ping and her team had never said it aloud, the team had already come to the conclusion that the culprit was a male. This was because during the first case, the culprit was out in a crowded area but managed to pull the victim into a small electric supply room in the underground tunnel. Not to mention, chopping off a person's hand with one stroke took a lot of strength. If the victim was female, then those 2 things would have been very difficult to accomplish. But, what if they were wrong? What if the culprit wasn't a male? What would happen? Using the BMW one-sided film as an example, the culprit had taken such advanced measures as not to reveal anything, even their own silhouette. But why would the culprit be so careful so as to not even reveal their own silhouette? Could it be that the silhouette would expose something? Like, exposing the fact that she was a woman? Other than that, Zhao Yu also felt that Chu Ping often had the wrong idea, including the culprit's motive. By this point, the culprit had already cut off the hands of 3 females. But why did he cut their hands off in the first place? Chu Ping and the team had always thought that the lost hand case's victims were randomly chosen. They were sure that there were no connection between the culprit and the victim. Their reasoning was sound as the 3 victims had never met each other. They were not classmates and never even went to the same school. Worrying about whether she was wrong or not, Chu Ping had carefully researched if the 3 victims had any mutual acquaintances. From her research, even though there were 1 or 2 mutual acquaintances, they obscure relationships with little investigational value. Since there were not any relationships between the culprits and the victim, Chu Ping obviously thought that the lost hand case had been done by a mentally ill person. She figured that the culprit had endured some sort of mental trauma, like housewives spending too much money, and got his revenge with this crime. But Zhao Yu did not think that was the case. Even though he had not been a police officer before, his ability to judge certain problems was not weaker than any detective in the unit. The 3 victims not knowing each other. Their body shape, appearance, height, clothes, hair length, and even job were all completely different. The only similarity among the 3 was their gender, age, and family's financial situation. Zhao Yu felt that if the culprit really had some sort of perverted tendency, then they would at least pick victims who looked similar. If they were cutting people's hands off because their housewife was a large spender, then they would at least pick victims who looked like their wife. Not to mention, the information already showed that despite the victims being from wealthier households, they did not really have spending issues. Thus, Zhao Yu had doubts regarding Chu Ping and her team's judgment. What if the culprit didn't have any mental issues, he thought. Due to Zhao Yu's old, rather special job situation, he had seen many cases out of grudge or revenge. For some reason, he felt that the lost hand case in front of him felt very similar to case where the motive had been a grudge. The culprit who had chopped off those women's hands was not just doing it because of their own interests or issues, but because they were actually out for revenge. And the reason why Zhao Yu thought that was not just a guess, but because of a very specific reason. Zhao Yu realized that all of the hands were missing. It was the same for all 3 victims. Their chopped-off hands had been missing at the scene of the crime and were still missing. Without a doubt, the hands must have been taken away by the culprit. But why did the culprit take them? According to Zhao Yu's understanding, the culprit might have kept the hands as trophies. He would keep his trophies, and in future, every time he looked at the victim's hands, the hatred inside him would lessen. This behavior was very similar to some of the feuds that Zhao Yu had experienced, so he felt that these lost hand cases was some form of revenge. The culprit's targets might have been chosen purposely, not randomly. Zhao Yu deduced that the victims might have previously offended the culprit, whether intentionally or unintentionally, so the culprit chopped off their hands to take revenge on them. But what kind of hatred could have caused the culprit to decide to chop off their hands? Also, why was it the right hand and not the left hand? Like previous investigations, after thinking about it from this perspective, Zhao Yu soon arrived at a dead end. The investigations had shown that the victims did not have any black marks or offended anyone. According to their colleagues, neighbors, and relatives, they had good reputations and were not the kind of people who caused trouble. Moreover, the 3 did not know one another, and their paths had never crossed. Why would they have anything to do with that sick and cruel crime? The truth, what was it exactly? Who was the one who chopped off their hands? While thinking, Zhao Yu seemed to have fallen into a repetitive maze, unable to get out. Gradually, his head got heavier. He could not even hear the sound from the listening device clearly, let alone think about the case. Fortunately, Zhao Yu did not forget an important thing, which was to activate the miracle system in his brain. Since it was past midnight, it was a brand new day, so he should be able to do another calculation. Taking out a cigarette and lighting it, a loud cough suddenly came from Team A's office. At dawn, Zhao Yu was awakened by the alarm from his own mobile phone. "Ah, hero, please chase the dream with me." Zhao Yu was startled and suddenly sat up straight. It was only then that he realized he had not gone home last night and had fallen asleep on the table. Oh yeah, he suddenly recalled last night before sleeping. He seemed to have activated the miracle system and did a calculation. What were the words? Was it Zhen Li Guo or was it Zhen Sun Guo? He could not stop scratching his head. He did not even remember the title, let alone the words. He had been so tired that night that as soon as he had closed his eyes, he fell asleep. "Ah, hero, please chase the dream with me." The mobile phone was still vibrating on the table. Vist and Velben.cm for new updates. Zhao Yu unlocked his phone and was surprised to see that the call was from Jiang Shaoqing, the daughter of his landlord Jiang Dafeng. He looked at his watch. It was past 7, so she should have been in school by this time. Why is she calling me? He thought. Zhao Yu did not want to answer, but the phone was ringing non-stop. He was afraid that Jiang Shaoqing might have something important to tell him, so he pressed the answer key. Phew, you finally picked up the phone. Jiang Shaoqing sounded relieved. Well, where are you? It seems like you did not come back last night. I left you a message on WeChat, did you see it? I had to work overtime. What's up? Zhao Yu answered curtly. Well, Jiang Shaoqing sounded awkward and seemed to have something difficult to say. Speak quick. I have cases to settle. Zhao Yu got impatient. He hurriedly switched on the listening device to check if Chu Ping and her team had any new developments. How about this? I can't speak clearly over the phone, I'll be reaching your unit soon, could you come out for a while? Jiang Shaoqing sounded anxious and spoke very fast. Oh please, I'm really settling serious stuff. Zhao Yu became more impatient. If there's anything, can't we talk tomorrow? It would be useless tomorrow. Well, Jiang Shaoqing seemed to have mustered up her strength before saying loudly, didn't you say that we are partners? Now that I am in trouble, you should help me out. We agreed on that, right? Hearing this, Zhao Yu started to worry. He was worried that someone might have discovered the stolen number incident and said hastily, all right, I'm scared of you. I'll go out now, will that do? After ending the call, Zhao Yu did not rush out of the office. He switched on the listening device and checked on Team B's situation, but there was only silence. He was unsure if there had been a change in the situation. He ran to the corridor in a hurry, leaned on Team B's window, and looked inside. Upon looking inside, he felt relieved. He saw Team B's members were all like him, sleeping on their office tables. Only team leader Chu Ping was still standing in front of the whiteboard, thinking deeply about the case. It was good that they had not solved it yet. Zhao Yu felt completely at ease. It was only then that he tidied his hair and clothes and walked toward the main gate of the police station. When he arrived, Jiang Shaoqing was already waiting there, dressed in her school uniform. In the breeze, the young lady's thin physique was even more obvious. With tight lips and dodgy eyes, she looked very nervous. Zhao Yu saw and pulled her hastily into the alley at the side. Speak, why are you looking for me? While talking, Zhao Yu saw a bottle of unopened cola at the side pocket of the young lady's school bag and took it without any hesitation. He opened the bottle and started drinking. The young lady was still thinking about her own problem and did not bother about the cola. She opened her mouth a few times and finally mustered enough courage to speak to Zhao Yu. Could you be my dad for today, okay? Araruk. Zhao Yu spit out the cola. He did it so quickly that some came out from his nose. Hork, Zhao Yu looked terrible, coughing and using his sleeve to wipe his face. There's a parents' meeting this morning, and all parents have to participate. I can only find you. Jiang Shaoqing said hastily, if my dad goes, I'll be dead. Stop. Zhao Yu was perplexed. Your dad? Am I that old? Can't I be your brother? You can only be my dad. Jiang Shaoqing said seriously, I've already intercepted my dad's mobile phone information and copied it to your phone. My teacher won't be able to tell. Holy sh*t, Zhao Yu was about to kneel down. Big Missy, should I give you a job at the police station? You're so professional. Please. Jiang Shaoqing begged, the parents' meeting starts at 8 o'clock, I'll pay for the cab fare, okay? Enough. Zhao Yu shouted with a stern face, if your real dad knows about it, I'll be chased out of the house, do you know that? Why don't you hire a person? It's impossible for me to go. Let me be frank, I really have an important case to investigate today. Get going, quick! Quick! If not, you won't be able to make it in time for the bus. Zhao Yu had lost his appetite for the cola. He closed the cap and gave it back to her. Looking at Qinshan Second Middle School's solemn and magnificent gate, Zhao Yu felt his legs become heavy, gluing him to his place. Qinshan Second Middle School was one of the biggest, most famous middle schools within the entire district. Many people would give up everything just to get themselves into the school. Zhao Yu never would have dreamed that Jiang Shaoqing would be attending the second middle school. Not to mention, she was in the 8th grade, and that in a month and a half she would be taking the high school entrance examination. He was even more surprised that Jiang Shaoqing did not want her own father to come to the parent conference, not because her grades were too low, but because her grades were too good. As it turned out, Jiang Shaoqing was the second middle school's genius. Every mock exam that she had taken, she was always ranked in the top 3 among the entire school. The little girl was very interesting. She told the school that night recitation did not fit her learning style, and that she wanted to study at home. The teachers did not even dare to say no to their best student. With just a simple notification to Jiang Shaoqing's father, she was allowed to skip her night recitation. But the teacher did not know that Jiang Shaoqing's so-called father was not actually Jiang Shaoqing's father. Even before Zhao Yu, the kid had already faked her parent contact information multiple times. The reason she did not want to show up for night recitation was because she went to study hacking in internet cafes, teaching herself how to scam people's accounts. Although she did these things, her grades never slipped, so her actions were not noticed by the school or her parents. Jiang Shaoqing's grades and capabilities almost put Zhao Yu to shame. He was not sure why, but as he stepped through the school gate, he had a feeling that he did not fit in. His heart sped up and he started sweating buckets. Even back when he walked into another mafia's territory to taunt them, he had never been this nervous. At that moment, he truly regretted agreeing to pretend to be Jiang Shaoqing's dad. With the lost hand case taking up so much of his time, he did not have any energy left to spare for this. But Jiang Shaoqing had pulled out her trump card and had stumped the experienced and street-savvy Zhao Yu. Jiang Shaoqing had said it like this: "Think about it. Both of our lives are at stake here. If you don't come to the parent conference with me, my scamming will be exposed. And when it does, you won't get any money. Also, you might even face heavy repercussions since you're a policeman." Her move had been checkmate for Zhao Yu. Of course, Zhao Yu could simply not admit the truth and escape, but he also had a lot at stake and realized it was not worth the trade. With no way out, Zhao Yu could only reluctantly become her dad. Don't worry, seeing the other's reluctance, Jiang Shaoqing tried to make the situation less intimidating for him. It's only a parent conference, all of the parents are going to be there. You just have to sit in a chair and listen. If our homeroom teacher asks you to make a speech, you can just say something random. Just don't say why I don't attend night recitations. Zhao Yu could not do anything except follow the little girl. After Jiang Shaoqing opened the gate with her card, she brought Zhao Yu to the school's music building. The building was fairly old, with many eaves and pillars, almost looking like it was from the 70s or the 80s. You could even see the yellow 5-point stars that were scattered on the walls, somewhat faded from age. In fear of affecting the students studying, the parent conference was organized in the music building's lobby. The lobby could hold up to 100 people. Using it for the parent conference almost felt like a waste. But the sign-in at the door was very strict. Every participating parent must use their phone to scan their WeChat code. Thankfully, the hacking expert Jiang Shaoqing had already taken care of everything, and Zhao Yu did not have any problem getting in. Because students were not participating at the parent conference, Jiang Shaoqing left for class once she led Zhao Yu to where he needed to be. As she was leaving, she was still worried, and threw several glances back at Zhao Yu. Find the new ST ovals on n/velben.com. Zhao Yu was unprepared, so he simply found a seat near the front and sat on a chair. The eavesdropper in his mind was still turned on. Even if he was acting as Jiang Shaoqing's dad, he could not slack off at his real job. He was still keeping an eye on Team B's every move. But even as Zhao Yu was sitting in the music building, team leader Chu Ping was still out of ideas, unable to continue. There was still some time before the start of the parent conference, so there were not that many people yet. Among them, there was a 40-something-year-old mother. When she saw the piano on the podium, she looked incredibly interested and ran up to begin playing a tune. Unexpectedly, she was apparently a pro, playing a gentle and soothing, yet incredibly difficult tune. The clear and elegant music rang through the lobby, lifting the mood of the parents present. Everyone stood by the piano player and listened with great interest. Zhao Yu may have been a crude person, but he was very interested in music. Leaning against his seat, he was also enraptured by the sound of the piano. Zhao Yu sat at the perfect spot as he could see everything that was happening. Unconsciously, his eyes were drawn to the piano player's beautiful, pearly white, long hands. It was probably the influence of the lost hand case, but in his mind, Zhao Yu was considering such beautiful hands. What would be the best way to chop them off? The woman's hand fleeted across the piano agilely yet with strength, producing beautiful notes. The music was almost alive, filled with emotions and tugging at everyone's heartstrings. The entire room was spellbound. It was easy to tell this female parent's piano skills were not simply average. When the music ended, the seated parents were all stunned in silence for a few seconds before they started clapping loudly. Shanshan's mom. Another mother praised, I didn't notice before, but your piano skills are amazing. Even better than professionals. I don't know what you mean. Shanshan's mother, who had just been playing the piano, smiled humbly, I haven't played in so many years. Not to brag, but during our time, to reach the 10th level of piano was much more difficult than today. Oh. You're piano level 10. We've already known each other for so many years, how come you've never mentioned it? Were you hiding it? The other mother laughed. Haha, Shanshan's mother laughed, it's not like I do this for a living. Why should I tell people? Actually, I was just being nostalgic, almost emotional. I still remember 20 years ago, I was right here attending a piano tournament and almost got accepted into the Central Music School. She continued, even though this place looks old, at the time, the second middle school of music was known to be the musical paradise in Qinshan City. A lot of famous people graduated from here. Sigh. If I worked harder at that time, maybe, I could be living a whole different life. Ha ha ha, joking again. Another female parent noted, your Shanshan is so excellent already. If you went to some music school, where would you get such a wonderful kid? True, haha, the mother laughed. Hearing the discussion between the two, Zhao Yu felt like he had caught something. He tried hard to remember something. Then suddenly, as if struck by lightning, he hopped up from his seat. Holy sh**t. Piano. He thought. Piano. Piano. Could it be that the key to the lost hand case was right here? 53 days. Needless to say, I think all parents already know how important these 53 days are to the children. On the stage, a white-haired middle-aged man was knocking on the table with his index finger. The objective of having this parent conference today is to discuss how parents can coordinate accurately with their children and how to dispel their tension. I think. This person was Jiang Xiaqing's class teacher. He was concentrating on explaining to the parents the important things to take note of before the mid-year examinations. Who would have thought that while he was speaking enthusiastically, a cell phone started to ring from somewhere in the audience. Ah, hero, please chase the dream with me. Ah, hero, the cell phone rang. The parents were all listening attentively, but the ringtone was so loud that the parents gave a menacing glance all at once, and even the class teacher on stage was forced to stop his speech. What happened next was even more unbelievable. Not only did the owner of the cell phone not silent their phone, but they picked up their phone as if there was no one else around. Hello! He looked up and answered. With all eyes directed toward him, he listened carefully to the phone call with his eyes wide open, disregarding the situation in front of him. The parents stared at one another in bewilderment. The class teacher looked awkward, not knowing whether or not to continue his speech. The person answering the phone was not bothered in the slightest. He seemed very interested to his phone call, listening very attentively. Suddenly, he shouted in surprise, What? What you said is true. You sure? Arg! How could that be? At that moment, the parents inside the hall were petrified. Even the air seemed to have stopped moving. Hello, say that again. This person still did not feel any sense of embarrassment. He left his seat and walked confidently out of the auditorium. On his way out, he was still shouting into his phone, Hold on, let me write this down. After this person left the hall, the parents who were present recovered quickly from the horror and an uproar followed. Who was that? Which child's parent? Someone whispered in a low voice, What kind of class? Is this a food market? Exactly, indeed, with this kind of parent, how would the child be taught well? Another said with a disgusted face, I'm sure his child must be ranked last, hey? Xiaoyu's mom, what's wrong with you, why do you look so pale? A female parent sitting on the side was in disbelief. Shivering, she said, No, that's impossible. When I arrived, I saw that person on the phone, he came with Jiang Xiaoqing. Could he be Jiang Xiaoqing? Second middle school's top student, that person asked in shock. That's not possible. Could you be mistaken? How could Jiang Shaoqing have such a parent? Parents! Parents! Silence! Silence, the teacher saw that tensions were running high. He knocked on the table hastily to calm everyone down. Let's continue. Without a doubt, the person being condemned by the parents was Zhao Yu. Other than him, who would have such energy? Outside the hall, Zhao Yu found a table, took out a small notepad, and recorded the information that Li Beini had gathered for him. While recording, Zhao Yu was filled with excitement to the brim, and he felt the blood in his whole body boiling. Heh, murderer, oh murderer. Finally, I'm gonna catch you, he thought to himself. Lu Changhu. Chu Ping. Open your eyes wide and see how I'm gonna arrest the murderer of the lost hand case. After blabbering, he hit himself hard on the head and praised with sincerity, the great miracle system, how I love you so. The reason why Zhao Yu was so excited to the point of acting like a lunatic was because he had found a new clue about the lost hand case. Zhao Yu thought that this clue, which had been overlooked by the others, was crucial in solving the case. In fact, when Shanshan's mother had been playing the piano earlier on stage, Zhao Yu had come up with a daring and unusual guess. The murderer chopped off the victim's hands. Other than spending money excessively, could there be other reasons? Such as playing the piano? The murderer saw that one played the piano well and chopped off their hand out of jealousy? As he pondered over the piano, the first thing that came to his mind was the second victim of this case, Yuan Lily. Yuan Lily was a college music teacher. Before her hand had been chopped off, she was giving piano lessons. Naturally, her piano-playing skill must have been of a high level. Thinking further, he suddenly thought of the first victim of this case, Gao Tian. On the day Gao Tian's hand had been chopped off, she was attending a concert at the stadium. He vaguely remembered it was not a singing concert, but a musical concert, and it seemed to have been related to piano. With this thought, Zhao Yu immediately gave Li Beini a call. Li Beini had already gone to work, so Zhao Yu asked for her help in checking related records. Li Beini responded quickly, telling him that the concern Gao Tian attended that night was the special tour of Germany's Prince of Piano, Kleiderman. Prince of Piano. Gao Tian had arrived from different part of the country, which undoubtedly showed that she had a great passion for piano. Piano again. Then, what about the third victim Luo Mena? Did she also have a connection to piano? Thinking of this, Zhao Yu immediately asked Li Beini to investigate further if Luo Mena had any connection with piano while also investigating the relationship between the other victims and piano. Chopping off one's hand just because one knew how to play the piano seemed ridiculous, but Zhao Yu felt that his hunch about piano could very likely be the key to the lost hand case. As it was time for the parents' meeting, Zhao Yu had to be seated, pretending to listen to the class teacher. However, in his heart, he could not hold back. It was as if the grass had grown as he anxiously awaited Li Beini's reply. Find the new ST-Evels on n/velben.com. Li Beini had not known where Zhao Yu was. Once she had gathered the information, she called Zhao Yu directly, and he answered naturally as if there was no one else around. Li Beini told Zhao Yu that she had gathered detailed and reliable information on the three victims of the lost hand case, Gao Tian, Yuan Lily, and Luo Mena. When they were young, they all reached the 10th level of piano. Hearing this shocking news, how could Zhao Yu remain seated? This was how the scene happened. Outside the hall, when he was taking notes on the stone table, Zhao Yu felt his hands trembling. Ever since he had gotten involved in the mysterious lost hand case, Zhao Yu had always felt that if the murderer was after revenge, these three people must have had something in common. However, after a long search, it was still in vain. But ever since the piano clue appeared, it was different. The three people were all linked together by piano. Zhao Yu felt that this was no coincidence. Maybe, the real answer lies here. According to the information from the eavesdropper, Chu Ping's team had already changed their focus of the investigation onto the previous two cases. She had even sent someone to Yuan Lily's old house to investigate, reviving the old case. It seemed that Chu Ping truly was out of ideas. Zhao Yu could not help but laugh. Humph. It's your guy's fault for underestimating me. This time, don't expect me to share the wealth either, he thought to himself. He focused on jotting down the newest information in his notepad and quickly fell into thinking mode. Now, he was sure that the lost hand case had something to do with piano. But, how was it connected? He still was not sure. Zhao Yu felt that since the three victims had some connection with piano, the killer had to be some sort of piano expert as well. The expert must have had some kind of interaction with the victims. According to Li Bei's information, the 3 victims were all from different piano schools, with different teachers. Even though the 3 of them were all piano level 10, they had all taken the test at different times as well. In other words, the 3 may have been piano experts, but they did not know each other at all. Then, could it be that the 3 of them knew the culprit separately? Thinking this much, Zhao Yu once again called Li Bei, asking her to quickly investigate the 3 victims' piano history. Could they have studied during the same period? It was not surprising that Li Bei was not too happy with the arrangement. She noted that to finish this, she had to call all of the piano schools. It had been 20 years since the victims were students. Some of the schools had already closed down. It was nearly impossible to search. Please! Now that Li Bei was the only one supporting him, Zhao Yu could only get off his high horse and beg, "This information is honestly super important. Once the case is solved, I promise to treat you to something." "That's more like it," Li Bei smiled satisfied. "I'll try my best then." But, Zhao Yu warned, "You have to remember, do not let anyone else know about our investigation. Especially not Xu Ping and Team B, okay?" "I got it, don't worry." Li Bei hung up the phone impatiently as she finished. LL news tirise at n0v/lbi/.cm. Zhao Yu rubbed his hands impatiently, unable to wait. But impatience did not help him at all. He still had an important mission to finish, so he could only go and sit back down in the lobby. The question and answer session was going on. The homeroom teacher was eagerly answering all of the parents' questions, and the parents were listening carefully in return. Not many people noticed Zhao Yu returning to his seat. Zhao Yu had no interest in this. His mind continued to ponder the relationship between the lost hand case and piano. All kinds of evidence, details, and possibilities rapidly spun through his head. In the end, he even connected to his miracle system. Could it be that pretending to be Jiang Xiaqing's father, coming to the second middle school's music room and being inspired by the parent playing the piano was the adventure that day? It was regrettable that he could not remember the prompts and theme of the adventure. What could be the secret to this adventure? He started remembering when he entered the lobby, once Shanshan's mother finished playing piano. Could it be there were still more to what she had said? Shanshan's mother said she had not played the piano in a long time. Those who did not know her well clearly would not know she played the piano. This aspect was very similar to Gao Tian and Luo Meina. Although Zhao Yu had their information, neither mentioned they played the piano despite being level 10. Could it be, the culprit might have known them for many years? The culprit knew their secret, knew they played the piano? Could it be, the culprit was a long-time enemy of theirs? Wait, suddenly, Zhao Yu remembered an important point. The 3 victims were not from the same piano school, nor did they know each other, but there was one time and place they could have met up. Huh? Zhao Yu suddenly remembered Shanshan's mother's words. "I still remember 20 years ago, I was right here attending a piano tournament, and almost got accepted into the Central Music School." Right? Zhao Yu's entire body was covered in goosebumps. Holy sh**t. He had finally found it. The point of contact between the 3 victims was a competition. The 3 were all piano experts, from the same city, and of a similar age. They very well could have attended the same piano competition. Yeah. There's no other way. Zhao Yu decided that the culprit of the lost hand case had definitely attended this competition. The culprit must have not done too well and was eliminated, causing him to hold a grudge. Thus, he committed such a cruel act. Humph. "Without your hand, how would you play the piano now?" he imagined the culprit saying. Zhao Yu felt more and more sure of his thoughts, and became excited. If the culprit and the victims were around the same age, then at the time they had to have been very young. At that time the culprit had no power to exact their revenge. After more than a decade, the culprit finally felt like they had the ability, and started the lost hand case. Holy sh**t, the culprit must have really had a grudge. Just a piano competition, is it really worth it? Zhao Yu was still considering this when his phone started vibrating again. He had been anticipating this, and picked up the phone before it even started ringing. Senior. Through the phone came Li Bei's excited voice. I found it. 18 years ago, the 3 of them all attended Qinshan's 10th annual high school piano competition. All 3 of them were finalists. Holy sh**t. Zhao Yu slapped his thigh and nearly jumped up in excitement. His voice was way too loud. All of the parents once again jumped at his exclamation. The giant lobby suddenly went completely quiet. Tell me, where was the competition? Who else attended? Zhao Yu ignored everyone and continued loudly. It's been way too long to know how many people attended. I still have to investigate, but I know the location. It's Qinshan Second Middle School. Hearing the name Qinshan Second Middle School from Li Beini, Zhao Yu felt as he had been struck by lightning and shook violently. How could this coincidence be? Holy shit asterisk. Zhao Yu's unrestrained words once again flowed out. The parents present all shivered as if shocked. Yeah. I felt like this couldn't possibly be a coincidence. Li Beini was also excited. Senior, the contest was too long ago. I can't get all the information through the phone. If you ask me, you should go there right now and find some evidence. Right, after all this time? Where are you exactly? Zhao Yu did not bother to answer Li Beini's question. After ending the call, he rushed into the crowd and hastily searched for the person playing the piano, Shanshan's mother. Hey! It's you! Zhao Yu quickly found her. He hurriedly asked her, Big sis. Tell me quickly, when you took part in that something-something piano competition, did you know Gao Tian, Yuan Lily, and Luo Meina? Any of these three people? Shanshan's mother's expression froze. She moved back while shaking her head, as if hiding from a plague. No? It's been so many years. How could you say no straight away? Zhao Yu urged. Think carefully again. Do you know these three people? Did they take part in the grand piano competition with you? I really can't remember. Shanshan's mother was frightened by Zhao Yu's aggressiveness. She turned around and wanted to hide. Zhao Yu grabbed her by the arms and yelled, Big sis, what are you afraid of? I'm investigating a case. Hey! This parent over here, I've been watching you. The white-haired class teacher could not look on further. He pounded the table, stood up and yelled, You'd better stop this. If not, I'm gonna call security. You are simply too low class. Exactly, the fathers started to roll up their sleeves. Can't you see where we are? Who do you think you are? These words reminded Zhao Yu of what to do. He quickly took out his police badge and yelled, I'm a police officer. The Key Case Investigation Unit is doing investigations. There is a big case which could be linked to this lady, so, he looked at Shanshan's mother and said, You have to answer my questions truthfully, or else you have to go back to the police station with me, hey. Upon hearing herself being associated with a big case, Shanshan's mother's eyes rolled to the back of her head, and she fainted. The parents on her side pinched her upper lip and patted her chest, and managed to revive her after much effort. Officer! How do you do your investigation? The class teacher ran over and grumbled, Look, what have you turned our conference into? This is a school. Exactly. The parents criticized Zhao Yu one after another. I've never heard of nabbing someone from a parent conference. Look at how you have scared people. Hey, are you really a police officer? Another man asked suspiciously. You are so vulgar. How could a police officer be like this? Mr. Wang, he said to the class teacher, I think it's better that you check his badge first. Nonsense. Not waiting for the parents to gang up on him, Zhao Yu yelled, Let me tell you the truth. The culprit is likely going to strike again today. If you hinder my investigation and give the culprit another chance to commit a crime, you would be disrupting public service, and all of you will be in serious trouble. The parents were inexperienced in this aspect, and were intimidated by Zhao Yu's words. All of them kept quiet and dared not to make any more noise. Officer! It's been 20 years. Shanshan's mother's face was pale. Shivering, she said, How could I remember who competed? I was nervous enough to perform on stage, let alone remember the others. The three names you said, I really haven't heard of them before. Zhao Yu gave this a thought and quickly realized why the three victims had not recognized each other. Firstly, a long time has passed. Secondly, a piano competition is about competing one's own ability with no need for interaction with other competitors. Wait, Zhao Yu suddenly thought of something and asked the woman, Which year of the grand piano competition was it that you took part? You should at least know this, right? I know, Shanshan's mother nodded several times and tried hard to recall. It was either the second or the third year, fourth at the most. Anyway, it hadn't been held for too long. Zhao Yu shook his head continuously. All of the victims had competed in the 10th Grand Piano competition. There was a difference of several years. Naturally, it was impossible for Shanshan's mother to know them. If that was the case, he would have to start from the initial records of the competition. Zhao Yu believed that if the list of competitors from that year's piano competition could be found, he could find the culprit. That, Mr. Something? Zhao Yu growled at the white-haired class teacher. Tell me, if I want to find information on the piano competition held here years ago, who should I look for? Well, you'd have to ask the vice principal who is in charge of music, the class teacher frowned. But it's been so many years, I'm not sure if that information can still be found. Where's the vice principal's office? How do I get there? Zhao Yu commanded. The class teacher did not dare to disobey. He quickly told Zhao Yu what he needed to know, and Zhao Yu left the hall. When Zhao Yu was completely gone, the parents heaved a sigh of relief. After a moment of silence, someone asked again, this person, who exactly is he? A student's parent? I don't think so, the class teacher said in doubt. I've never seen him before. Key Case Investigation Unit Police indeed. Why is he like a gangster? If any of our students have a parent like that, it would be a big misfortune. I know. At this moment, a female parent raised her hand and answered, I saw it, he came with Jiang Shaoqing. He should be Jiang Shaoqing's parent. Thump! The class teacher lost his footing and fell to the floor. Coming out from the music building's hall, Zhao Yu found the vice principal straight away. After Zhao Yu showed his police identification, the vice principal cooperatively called for the file administrator. However, after Zhao Yu and the administrators searched the whole data room, there was no information on the grand piano competition, let alone the participants. Not even an article or anything related to the rules and regulations was found. One of the administrators said that too much time had passed. The information on the type of competition was not as important as other data, and it was meaningless to keep. The school had moved several times, thus the possibility of it remaining was slim. Hearing this, Zhao Yu could not help but feel greatly disappointed. He requested the administrators right away, saying that lives were involved, and asked them to continue searching by all means. The administrators knew that this was no child's play. They promised Zhao Yu right away that they would continue searching to see if any information had been left in the school, and would call him once there was any news. Zhao Yu could only leave for the time being to think of other solutions. Who would have known that just as he came out from the main entrance of second middle school, he received a call from Li Bainey. Senior, how's the situation at your end? I've good news for you, Qingshan City's 10th Grand Piano Competition competitors list, I've gotten it. When he could not find the piano competition data, Zhao Yu had originally wanted to go talk with the 3 victims. Since they had actually attended the contest, maybe they would remember something important. But on further consideration, he quickly gave up the idea. He had heard through his eavesdropper that Chu Ping had placed surveillance around the 3 victims, so if he tried to visit them then Chu Ping would quickly find out what Zhao Yu knew. If Chu Ping caught wind of the direction of Zhao Yu's investigation, the result would be disastrous. But the gods were on his side because just as Zhao Yu had been troubled with his dilemma, Li Bainey told him that the competition roster was already in her hands. The overjoyed Zhao Yu quickly rushed back to the police office. In order to keep their investigation a secret, the two did not meet up at the office, but instead went to a restaurant near the building, almost like a spy meeting. Amazing! Zhao Yu praised Li Bainey's handiness. To get your hands on something so difficult, that's amazing. Oh, please! Li Bainey smirked, I am from the Police Academy Information Department after all. If I couldn't even do this, how could I show my face around here? Don't get so conceited, Zhao Yu retorted. But he was curious, tell me, where did you find this? I already searched through the entire records department at the second middle school, but I didn't find anything at all. I pulled this out straight from the city's records, but, honestly, Li Bainey whispered, I'm just an intern, so I don't have enough administrator privilege. To pull the case information, I actually used Team Leader Mao's username and password. You'll have to help me take care of that later. What? Zhao Yu jumped in shock at what she said. Even though he was not well educated himself, the other Zhao Yu was from the STEM department and was very familiar with these keywords. Pulling out case information was basically when the police department needed information from another department, so the departments shared their information with the police, letting them use it as they needed. Because the information contained a high amount of undisclosed intelligence to the public, there was a certain legal responsibility attached to a person pulling out the information. Only authorities within the police department could use this power. The higher your authority, the more information you could pull out. Because of this, to use someone else's authority to pull information was considered a heavy offense. To pull information from a level higher than your own could be considered a criminal offense. Because Li Beinei used team leader Mao Wei's authority, the consequence was clear. Even if Mao Wei gave her permission himself, it was still enough to give Li Beinei some trouble. My God! How do you have his username and password? Zhao Yu was very worried. Mao's not exactly careful. Every time when he enters his password, he doesn't even bother covering it up. It'd be a bigger surprise if I didn't know. Li Beinei was surprisingly calm. How could you do this? Are you stupid? If they investigate this, then it's over for you. Zhao Yu scratched his head. You said you were in a hurry. So, I helped you? Li Beinei remained calm. Senior, you have to clear this case. If you don't, then you owe me for the rest of your life. Okay, sounds good. Very admirable. Today I won't say thank you, but from now on you're under my wing. If you end up in some trouble, just come look for me. Zhao Yu patted Li Beinei on the shoulder, but startled her. Don't worry, it's just authority. Zhao Yu patted himself on the chest. I'll go find Mao right after this, no matter the method, I'll make sure he takes care of it. If he doesn't, then I'll quit with you. We share the same consequences. Okay? Hearing Zhao Yu's confident speech, despite not knowing some of his words, Li Beinei felt warm inside. The little girl felt her love for Zhao Yu surge back. Even if he was only acting, she still felt it was worth her effort. Up.dfrm no/v/e/lb/i n.co/m. Senior, actually, what I said was a little vague. Li Beinei blushed as she spoke. I'm not dumb enough to cross the line that easily. Even though I used team leader Mao's username and password to pull the case information, I used a virus and erased my tracks. If the higher-up doesn't send someone to investigate, they shouldn't find me. Oh. Zhao Yu gasped, then suddenly realized what happened and laughed. Aren't you sly? I almost got tricked by you. But, this is good, great. To avoid the awkward situation, Li Beinei hurriedly lowered her head and asked Zhao Yu, Senior, I'm a bit hungry. How about you buy me for some food? Right. Right. Look at me, not being considerate, please don't mind me. Zhao Yu hurriedly raised his head and shouted in a thunderous voice for a waiter, Waiter, we're ready to order. Zhao Yu was from the streets, hostile to enemies, but very generous to people he considered close to him. Li Beinei helped him greatly, so he definitely had to treat her. Soon, a luxurious set of food was placed in front of the two: steaks, salad, clam, abalone. It was so fancy that Li Beinei felt dizzy. She kept muttering, I can't eat all of this. Zhao Yu paid over 1,000 yuan out of his pocket for, but that was how it was done on the streets. Some things, either you do not do it at all, or you do it well so they can see that you mean it. Even as they were eating, Zhao Yu could not help but mention the case. He asked Li Beinei curiously, even if it was from the city's records, why would they have such old information? Of course they have it. Li Beinei replied, even though the contest was held at Qinshan Second Middle School, the contest was entirely organized by the city's Culture and Education Bureau. One is the host, the other is the organizer. Obviously you go to whoever organized it to find records, right? Oh, Li Beinei's words inspired Zhao Yu greatly. Oh, here. Li Beinei looked around to make sure there were no people watching them, then pulled out the photo on her phone and showed it to Zhao Yu. This was the city record's only information regarding the 10th annual high school piano competition. But it wasn't complete, the only information left is name of the final 10 winners, here. Zhao Yu looked at it carefully, and quickly found the lost hand case's 3 victims' names. They were all there. Not only that, but the 3 names were even side by side. Luo Mena, 1336 points, 4th place. Yuan Lily, 1057 points, 5th place. Gao Tian, 1020 points, 6th place. How's that, senior? Li Beinei grinned, see? Your instinct was right. The lost hand case definitely had something to do with this competition. Right. Of course. Zhao Yu praised himself inside his head. He was also highly excited. The list in front of him had already proved his hunch. It seemed that the culprit should be on the list. Zhao Yu carefully looked at every other name on the list, but no name stood out to him. Who was the culprit? Out of the 10 competitors, 3 have already lost their hands. Li Beinei pointed at the list of names while peeling prawn shells. Could the culprit be among the remaining 7 people? That's possible, Zhao Yu pondered for a few seconds and said, but the top 3 could probably be eliminated too. They performed well, so why would they want to chop off the hands of the losers? That's true, Li Beinei was also very excited. She pointed at the list and said, Senior, look, the first victim, Gao Tian came in 6th in the grand piano competition. Yuan Lily was 5th, and Luo Meino was 4th. The culprit is chopping off hands in order. I think the culprit must be beyond 6th place. So, 7th to 10th place. These 4 people are the most suspicious. Right. Zhao Yu nodded, since it started from 6th place, the person who placed 7th naturally is the most suspicious. I think the culprit is likely to be him. No. Li Beinei unexpectedly shook her head. I've checked the background of these people. In 7th place is a man named Xing Lei. He died in a car accident 10 years ago. It couldn't possibly be him. Ah. If it's like this, Zhao Yu was taken by surprise, then we are left with only 3 suspects? 2. Li Beinei said with certainty, 9th place has a bone tumor and has not been out of bed for a few years. Only 8th place and 10th place are possible, but 8th place lives in another part of the country all year round and is not in the city. Only 10th place fulfills the requirements. Are you serious? Zhao Yu felt anxious all of a sudden, afraid that this would be like previous times where the investigation had led to a dead end. Don't despair. Li Beinei consoled. The one living in the other part of the country will not be spared. I'm already checking his exact address. This afternoon, let's check on this 10th place fella. Who knows, it could be her. Zhao Yu looked carefully at 10th place. It was a woman's name. He felt perturbed and agitated. Could it be? The culprit of the lost hand case was really a woman. Senior, besides finding the culprit, there's another thing that we can't ignore. Li Beinei reminded him, tomorrow is the 26th. If the culprit has not quit, we have to take some measures in preparation. Oh, right. Understood. Zhao Yu pointed at the list. If the culprit will strike, the next victim will definitely be 3rd place? Not necessarily. Li Beinei shook her head again. 3rd place, Xiao Lulu, has already moved to Australia with her family. The culprit won't travel overseas to chop her hands off. Also, the champion for that grand piano competition, Lu Tao, is currently the director of academic affairs at the capital's College of Music, which is a little far. From what I see, 2nd place is most likely going to be the culprit's next target. Li Xinhua? Zhao Yu glanced at the name list. What an old-fashioned name. Is it a man or a woman? A woman. Li Beinei answered, this person is the principal of I Can Fly Art College, currently living in Qingshan City. If I was the culprit, I'd definitely choose her. In this case, our mission is very important. Zhao Yu sighed, we have to catch the culprit and also protect the next victim. We've gotta hurry. Yes. Li Beinei had finished eating. She took a quick sip of her fruit juice and said, but we've gotta go back to the office first. We haven't gotten the exact addresses of these people, and I want to check on the organizers of the competition, as well as the judges and staff to see if we can get any information from them. How meticulous! I like it! Zhao Yu hurriedly took a few bites and paid the bill before heading back to Timei's office with Li Beinei. Enemies always cross each other's path indeed. The moment the two entered, they saw Lu Changhu with his hands clasped, standing in front of the whiteboard Zhao Yu used for his case analysis. He was looking at something with great interest. It was now lunchtime, and there were no other agents in the office. Hey! How dedicated! Lu Changhu did not panic after seeing Zhao Yu and Li Beinei come in. He asked mockingly, why, you don't rest even during lunch? You updates tnvel/by.com. Captain Lu. Li Beinei greeted politely. Zhao Yu crossed his arms and walked in front of Liu Changhu. He barked, "Shoot! If not, scram! You!" Liu Changhu gave a stare, pointed at the whiteboard and sneered, "All right, Zhao Yu. Seems like you really want to win? The case is gonna be solved soon, huh? I've gotta prepare 1,800 yuan for Yue in advance, huh?" He beamed with joy. "You should reflect upon your own ability. Team B has so many people investigating day and night and has not gotten any clues. You stupid little ruffian, you want to solve the case before others? Huh. Wishful thinking. Be sensible and apologize to me quickly so that when you admit defeat, I'll save your face and not give you a lecture. If not, I'll make sure you won't be able to hold your head up high in front of the whole team." Bainey, without waiting for Zhao Yu's rebuttal, he turned and said to Li Bainey, "Listen to my advice. Don't associate yourself with this kind of person. You are an outstanding comrade. If you stay with this kind of ruffian, you'll be led astray." Li Bainey looked down and neither dared to agree nor disagree. "Bainey!" Zhao Yu tapped Li Bainey lightly on the shoulder. "Help me get a cup of coffee, would you? A big cup. Zhao Yu. Quit it!" Liu Changhu immediately understood the reason behind Zhao Yu's words. "Don't tell me you want to throw the cup of coffee at me?" He pointed at Zhao Yu's nose and ordered, "Let me tell you, I showed you mercy the previous time. If you dare me again, I'll get you dismissed." What Liu Changhu said was true. According to the new laws, unauthorized attack or assault on police officers carried a maximum penalty of 3 years imprisonment. Even though both parties were police officers, dismissal would be inevitable. The previous time, Zhao Yu had attacked rashly because he was emotional after traveling through time. Moreover, he did not want to be a police officer in the first place. However, things were different now, and naturally he would not be rash again. But even if he could not use force, as a shameless little ruffian, Zhao Yu had his own way of pranking people. As Liu Changhu brushed past him and walked toward the main gate, Zhao Yu suddenly turned around and shouted behind him. "Ha!" This yell was like thunder, scaring Liu Changhu, leaving him staggering. Zhao Yu raged and knocked over a huge pile of documents. Liu Changhu was still a little bit afraid of Zhao Yu. He had a bad scare, and his face was white. You, shaking, he pointed at Zhao Yu, but was unable to speak. "Ha ha ha ha," Zhao Yu burst into laughter to the point of keeling over. He said to himself, "It's not a crime to give you a scare, right? So? What can you do to me? So what?" Witnessing Zhao Yu's jerkish behavior, Li Bainey could not help but laugh. But after seeing Liu Changhu's murderous eyes, she could only try to restrain herself in discomfort. That night at 11:30, Zhao Yu crawled into his bed, exhausted. Running around the whole day from morning to night, he had truly exhausted all of his strength. Both in his last life and his new life, he never knew that investigating cases was this difficult. Every piece of evidence, every witness, and every piece of information had to be carefully and repeatedly confirmed. Sometimes, even though he knew that what he was doing was fruitless, he had to stubbornly push forward because the key to solving many cases was often found in unexpected evidences. After leaving the police station, Zhao Yu and Li Bainey's primary investigation target was the 10th-place competitor from the piano competition. According to the evidence, she was the most likely suspect. Yet when the two found her, their jaws dropped because this contestant was currently pregnant, already in her 3rd trimester. She had been pregnant for 7 months already, and her stomach was like a huge ball. How could a pregnant woman so far along be the culprit behind the lost hand case? With nowhere else to go, the two could only ask her about the piano competition. The lady could not remember anything too clearly. She said she was only 18 years old, just a child. All she knew how to do was play piano, everything else was a blur. She only remembered that the competition was very publicized. Not only did the city and province-level government officials come to watch, but they also invited many professional judges from the famous art schools. It was because the judges' expectations were so high that the contestants' points were very different. With almost a 300 to 400 point differences, this was very rare in professional piano competitions. The competition was also very important to the contestants because those who scored at the top of the competition would most likely be recruited by famous colleges. This was considered a shortcut to highly coveted universities. Hearing this, Zhao Yu suddenly remembered what Shan Shan's mother had said about how she had almost been accepted by the Capital Music Academy. If she had been accepted, her life would be very different. Zhao Yu applied the idea to himself. This was his second life, and it was truly a completely different life. He had made a lot of mistakes in his last life, so in this life, he would try his hardest to avoid them in order to live the life he truly wanted. Since the 10th place contestant could not be the culprit, Zhao Yu and Li Beini could only focus on other evidence. According to Li Beini's friend from another city, they had already confirmed that the 8th place contestant had not returned to Qinshan City for more than a decade, and therefore could not be the culprit. Once again, the investigation came to a screeching stop, since there were not any other suspects on the list. Unable to continue, the two could only split up and look for the rest of the piano contestants. But due to the contest being so long ago, some people were very difficult to find. Some were no longer in the city, some had already retired, and there were even some who had passed away. After spending an entire afternoon, other than getting some information from a retired officer from the Culture and Education Bureau, there were not any other advances in the investigation. The retired officer had been a staff member at the competition and still had some memories. He said that the competition was huge. Not only the city, but the provinces around Qinshan City were also involved. The participants were all 18 to 19-year-old high school seniors that were chosen from their own districts. There was a total of 100 contestants that came to the city for the preliminaries. After the preliminaries, the top 10 were chosen for the finals. The competition level was incredibly high. Also, the winners matched the fierceness of the competition. The top 3 were usually immediately recruited by the famous art schools within the country. 4th, 5th, and 6th place usually entered province-level art schools. As for those following the top 6, it was down to luck. The luckier ones entered city-level art schools, while the unlucky ones were no different from regular students. After getting that information, Zhao Yu still felt directionless. Maybe the direction of his investigation was not wrong, but perhaps this mysterious culprit had not been in the top 10, but had been eliminated prior to that. Maybe because they did not manage to get in top 10, they held a grudge, wanting to get revenge by chopping off the other contestants' hands. If it was really like this, then Zhao Yu would have had to go through the entire contestant list. Since Zhao Yu did not have the full list, how could he investigate? After some discussion, Li Beini felt that maybe they should look at it from another angle, shifting their focus to the culprit's next target. On the 26th, they would secretly investigate the principal of the school, Li Xinghua. If the culprit really targeted her, then maybe they would be able to gain some information. Zhao Yu could only nod. There was not much they could do at this point. But he felt awful, feeling as if his 1,800 yuan had simply gone to waste. Li Beini tried to console him, noting that investigating cases were just like this, often leading to dead ends. In those cases, it was better to get a good night's sleep. Maybe he would feel more inspired after he woke up. Zhao Yu surprisingly accepted Li Beini's advice, and finally decided to go back and rest. The case had been put to rest, but his adventure had apparently continued. While Zhao Yu was showering, he heard the system's ending message: today's adventure has been complete. Completion rate, 88%. Congratulations, an invisibility device has been obtained, please accept. Holy **T. Zhao Yu was shocked. Why was his completion rate so high? Not only was it above 80%, it was a lucky number. What kind of situation was this? He quickly stopped showering and examined the item within his mind. Skeleton key. The system introduced the item, one-time consumable. After use, can be used to open any single lock and crack up to level 15 electronic codes. There is no evidence remaining after use. Amazing! Zhao Yu thought. An invisible, traceless skeleton key, amazing. Definitely worthy of an 88% completion rate. But he was somewhat confused. Why was his completion rate was so high? He did not even finish the case, or catch the culprit. What exactly was today's adventure? After his shower, it was already after midnight. But Zhao Yu felt refreshed and energized, so he decided to turn on the miracle system again and play the daily lottery. As he was lighting the cigarette, he prayed in his heart, "Dear system, please give me a good roll, let me solve the case faster." Gen can hexagram. The system spoke: mountain and water, clear mountain and beautiful water, the dawn is beautiful and colorful. Your luck will be at max. The system became quiet again. This time, Zhao Yu finally wrote down the prompt completely. But even after a long analysis, even using his phone to look it up, he still could not understand it at all. He decided to just sleep it off. But that night, Zhao Yu did not sleep very well. His mind was filled with strange dreams. He even dreamt that he used a kitchen knife to chop off someone's hand. Visit en Velben. Cm for you ovals. Bang, bang, bang. Early in the morning, someone was banging furiously on Zhao Yu's door. Zhao Yu was still chasing other people in his dream. Suddenly disturbed by the banging sound, he merely licked his lips and rolled over. Although he mumbled, "Who's that?" Annoying, he did not fully wake up. Zhao Yu. You baddie. I know you're inside, open the door quick. Along with the banging sound, a young girl's howl came from outside the door. Jiang Shaoqing. Why is she here, he thought. Zhao Yu frantically looked at his watch. Only 5:30, so early? What does she want? Oh no! Zhao Yu recalled the parents' conference from the day before. Although he had managed to find some clues by coincidence, he had stirred up trouble for Jiang Shaoqing. He had ruined the parents' conference that had been painstakingly prepared by the school, and Shanshan's mother had almost called 120. Read latest OVLS at nv/e/l/by.com. Yesterday, he had wanted to explain what had happened to Jiang Shaoqing, but he was so engrossed in his investigation that he forgot. After that, Jiang Shaoqing had called him several times, but he dared not pick up the phone. The young girl threw curses at him on WeChat and even said that their scheme had been discovered, so he had to take responsibility. Zhao Yu had planned to think of a solution today, but he did not expect the young girl to come knocking at his door so early in the morning. Hearing how furiously she was pounding on his door, the young girl was definitely going to curse him out before putting the matter to rest. Zhao Yu had wanted to open the door, but thinking about it further, he decided against it. Her parents were downstairs. I'm a man and only have my flowery underpants on. If I let a young girl in and someone sees it, I'll never be able to explain myself. No. The door can never be opened, he decided. Zhao Yu, I have your location information. Stop pretending. I know you're inside. Open the door quick. Jiang Shaoqing bellowed outside. Zhao Yu hugged his pillow, not daring to breathe loudly. Somehow, he was fearless when he fought with others, but he was really scared of Jiang Shaoqing. The thought of pretending to be the young girl's dad made him feel weak all over. All right? Don't think I can't subdue you. Jiang Shaoqing shouted from outside the door, and a string of metal clatter followed. Let me tell you, I'm the landlord, I have the key. I'm gonna open the door now. Jiang Shaoqing was not trying to scare Zhao Yu, but before Zhao Yu could react, she had inserted the key into the keyhole and started turning it. Holy **T. Seeing that the door was about to open, Zhao Yu knew the situation was bad and slipped under the bed. He looked left and right, but the room was narrow and there was nowhere for him to hide. Without a choice, he opened the balcony's anti-theft door and dived onto the balcony. Just as he got onto the balcony, Jiang Shaoqing had already opened his door. Zhao Yu. I'm coming in. Jiang Shaoqing popped her head in. Stop hiding, all right? I've got something important to discuss. Zhao Yu? She did not see anyone and began searching the place. Just as she began to search the bedroom, she saw the opened anti-theft door leading to the balcony. Huh. Where else can you run? The young girl rushed onto the balcony, but there was no one in sight. Strange? Jiang Shaoqing looked left and right and mumbled to herself, he's really not in? Not possible? I'm sure I heard that fella coughing last night. Why is he gone now? That damned fella, he really has big cases to investigate? Zhao Yu. She returned to the house to check again. After hearing the balcony door close, Zhao Yu popped his head out at the balcony next door. Due to the critical situation, he had been cornered and actually climbed onto the balcony next door through the anti-theft net. Not knowing if Jiang Shaoqing had left, he dared not move. He crouched and waited on the balcony of the Four Beauties' home, keeping his head low. A few minutes later, he heard the sound of the shuttered doors from downstairs. He peeked down and saw Jiang Shaoqing had locked the shuttered doors of their family fruit store and gone to school. Before she left, she turned and caught a glimpse of the balcony. This gave Zhao Yu a scare, and he lowered his head again. Oh! Holy **T. Scared me. Zhao Yu patted himself on the chest and thought, it's this early in the morning and I almost got a heart attack. Could this be the adventure that I'm supposed to have today? If it's the case, it is really not fun at all. Having seen Jiang Shaoqing lock the shutter doors, Zhao Yu realized that Jiang Dafeng and his wife were not in. They had probably gone to replenish their stock. No wonder Jiang Shaoqing dared to come and find him. If he had known this, he would have opened the door and have a good talk with her, and would not be in such an embarrassing state now. He wanted to shake off the dust on his body, but realized he was half naked and only wearing his Pikachu underpants. He did not even have his slippers on. Let me take a shower first. Zhao Yu slowly thought about it and climbed back onto his own balcony, but had realized something. His adventure for today had just begun, but the anti-theft door had been locked from inside by Jiang Shaoqing. Arg, darn. Zhao Yu pulled and tugged, but the door did not move. He checked the window, but the window was also anti-theft and could not be opened. Arg, holy sh**t. Zhao Yu scratched his head. He hated Jiang Shaoqing from within. The girl had actually pulled this on him. She was full of tricks. She must have guessed that he had jumped from the balcony, so she did this cruel act. Darn it! He looked out from the anti-theft net. He was on the 3rd floor, and the balcony was protruding out. If he climbed to the end of the anti-theft net and jumped down, it would be equivalent to suicide. Zhao Yu anxiously fidgeted in his spot. The lost hand case had reached a crucial point, and he had many things to do. But now, he could not even go home. If his cell phone was with him, he could have called for help, but his phone was locked inside the house. Who could he find? He paced around the narrow balcony. When he finally fixed his eyes on the balcony next door, he decided to take a gamble. I have to go all out. Zhao Yu decided to leave from the next door apartment. The two houses were next to each other. If he could leave from the neighbor's main door, he would be able to return to his main door. Although the 4 beauties lived next door, Zhao Yu knew very well that these 4 social butterflies always spent their nights out and did not return home, so there was definitely no one home at this hour. Zhao Yu prayed silently, hoping that the neighbor's anti-theft door could be opened from the inside. He took a deep breath and crossed over to the balcony next door in the exact same way. The balcony next door did not have an anti-theft door. With a light pull, the door was opened. Having the same layout as Zhao Yu's place, the balcony connected to a bedroom. At this moment, there was a strong scent coming from the bedroom. It was the seductive and intoxicating scent of a woman. Zhao Yu felt that he had come across the scent before, and it seemed familiar. After some thought, he figured it could be from Miss Hua Hua. He was likely in Miss Hua Hua's bedroom. The curtain was down, and Zhao Yu was worried there might be someone in the house. He took a peek at the bed, which was in a mess. Half the bedsheet was on the floor, and it was obvious there was no one on the bed. Zhao Yu heaved a sigh of relief. He quickly left the bedroom and headed toward the living room. On the side of the living room, on the wall with the television on it, was the glass door to the bathroom. Unexpectedly, the moment Zhao Yu stepped into the living room, the sound of water came from the bathroom. Before Zhao Yu could react, the bathroom door opened and the living room was suddenly lit up from the light from the bathroom. A woman with a hot body clashed head-on with Zhao Yu. Ah! A loud cry came from the living room. When the two saw each other, Zhao Yu was incredibly confused. Huh? The sound of water from the bathroom had clearly been from the toilet, but why was this female in front of him wrapped in a bath towel, her hair still dripping wet? Was she using the bathroom, or showering? The woman stood still, thunderstruck as this creepy man appeared in front of her wearing only boxers. She screamed in shock, and unexpectedly, she failed to hold her towel tightly, letting it fall to the ground and baring her entire body. Taking a glance, Zhao Yu's confusion was quickly replaced with another thought. Whoa! Her body was perfection. Even the young Miss Hua Hua could not compare. This woman is not Miss Hua Hua. Crap! If it were Miss Hua Hua, Zhao Yu could have tried to explain, but it was not, and now Zhao Yu was done for. Breaking in, seeing things he should not have, he was already at death's door. Misunderstanding. Too much misunderstanding. But as the woman continuously screamed, Zhao Yu simply stood still and started blaming the miracle system instead. Dear system, this kind of adventure is full of misunderstanding, couldn't have been arranged by your highness as well, right? He thought to himself. Was it fun to mess with him? Finally, after she screamed for about 20 seconds, the woman was also a little confused. How come this pervert had not attacked her already? According to her expectations of a break-in, she should have been already restrained by him, dominated, then raped. But how come the guy in front of her was just looking at her like he was admiring scenery? In her confusion, the woman finally took the time to examine Zhao Yu. He had boxers but no shoes, and was dirty all over. Could he be a mental patient? Wait! Suddenly, the woman took a closer look at Zhao Yu's face, and yelled out in shock, "How come it's you?" "Miss, this was an accident." Zhao Yu put his hands together in apology, trying to explain himself as the chance presented itself. "I'm your neighbor Zhao Yu. I got locked out and thought there wasn't anyone in your house, so I tried to go through your house to get to mine. I know you guys don't usually have anyone home around this time. I honestly didn't know you were home, it was truly an accident. I'm a police officer, not some shady guy. If you want I can show you my badge." Only after Zhao Yu's long explanation did he notice the woman's expression. He took a closer look at the other's face, and was beyond shocked. "Aw. How come it's you? Aren't you the gold digger?" Zhao Yu was about to blurt the words out before forcefully swallowing them. Indeed, the woman in front of him was the gold digger Zhao Yu had met at the bar who had almost become a victim of the taser rape case. Thankfully, Zhao Yu had caught the culprit in the nick of time. He could be considered her savior. No wonder the perfume was so familiar. It was hers. "How come, it's you?" Zhao Yu pointed at her, also feeling dazed. The woman thought Zhao Yu had pointed at her bare body and hurriedly picked up the towel again. But the tiny towel could block her seductive and perfect body. Zhao Yu could feel himself heating up and his throat going dry. "Isn't this too much of a coincidence?" The woman shook her head. "Hua Hua was just telling me yesterday that we got some crazy policeman as a neighbor. To think it was you?" "Damn." Zhao Yu gulped. To think that was how Hua Hua saw him. That was the power of dry humor. I couldn't imagine either." Zhao Yu finally explained what happened again, then asked, "I've seen the four beauties, but how come I haven't seen you?" "Haha, come sit." Because of their special relationship of the savior and the saved, the woman had already let her guard down around Zhao Yu. Leading him into the bedroom, she let Zhao Yu sit on her bed. "It should be 5 beauties. 3 of them live downstairs, me and Hua Hua live up here." Oh, Zhao Yu finally understood. Apparently the neighbor also rented out the second floor, leaving only the first floor as a laundromat. "Officer Zhao, your name is Zhao Yu?" The woman grabbed a pack of cigarettes from the counter and handed it to Zhao Yu. "Actually, last time, I didn't know what happened until I woke up later. I wanted to thank you personally, but, you know my situation, Hong, what was it?" "Yang Hong?" Zhao Yu recalled the taser rape cases involved personnel name list. "Yeah, Yang Hong." The woman confirmed her name. "FITDEUPTS on NOV/E/LN.com. Please." "Why the formality?" "It's just my job." Zhao Yu took the cigarette, but did not want to smoke. Ever since he had connected smoking with the miracle system, he no longer had any interest in smoking. So when Yang Hong tried to help him light the cigarette, he politely waved it off, but Yang Hong still lit one for herself. "No matter what, truly, thank you." Yang Hong spoke honestly. "If the culprit really got away with it, I don't know if I could have faced anyone." "Don't say that." Zhao Yu could feel a certain sadness from the Yang Hong's tone and tried to change the subject. "What a coincidence today, you didn't go out." "Ever since what happened, I'm still a little uncomfortable." Yang Hong blew out a soft smoke ring, somewhat reserved. "I had planned to rest a bit today. I was sleeping well, but someone was slamming on the door and woke me up." Apparently everything was a chain reaction caused by Jiang Shaoqing. After Yang Hong had finished talking, the two were not sure what to say and the atmosphere in the bedroom became somewhat awkward. "Officer Zhao." Finally, it was Yang Hong who first broke the awkward silence. "I was always wondering, that day, there were so many people in the bar, how come you targeted me? Did you know that the culprit would pick me?" That, Zhao Yu was experienced in this. From Yang Hong's words, he instinctively caught onto something and smiled. "Honestly, I was enraptured by you. There wasn't anyone prettier than you there. Looks like my aesthetic was the same as the culprit." Yang Hong smiled wildly, as expected from the love expert Officer Zhao. "Today is a rare opportunity. If I say I won't charge you for the 3,000 yuan and give you a freebie, what would you do?" Yang Hong was clearly flirting by this point. Zhao Yu looked at the other's devilish body. His testosterone was running wild with anticipation, but Zhao Yu still kept up his experienced ade, and spoke, "Then what about the 4-star hotel?" This sent Yang Hong into a laughing fit. After she had laughed enough, she threw an incredibly seductive look at Zhao Yu. "Random meetings are always more special, I think right here is fine. Hua Hua won't be back all afternoon. Also, you jumped over from the balcony and don't even have the key. How will you go back?" Zhao Yu could not even contain his own excitement. How could he even mention the backup key he had under his welcome mat? Not even waiting for Yang Hong to extinguish her cigarette, he pulled her into his arms. It had been too long since Zhao Yu had last touched a woman. He could not concern himself with rules like do not touch other people. He was like a beast in heat as he flipped Yang Hong over violently, pressing her under his body. But he had done so too aggressively. Yang Hong's cell phone bounced high into the air from the bed and fell onto the ground. The sound was very loud, causing the two to pause. "That iPhone 6s, sorry," Yang Hong licked her lips and muttered quietly. Zhao Yu hurriedly poked his upper body out of bed and picked up the cell phone. Good thing that the phone was sturdy, and apparently there were no scratches. When Zhao Yu picked up the phone to show Yang Hong, the screen was brightly lit, showing a picture of Yang Hong herself. But what made Zhao Yu pause was that picture showed Yang Hong in front of a piano, playing very intently. "Piano again?" Zhao Yu thought incredulously. "What? Can't recognize me?" Yang Hong pointed at her youthful self. "At the time, I was still in school." You play the piano?" Zhao Yu asked carefully. "Haha, unexpected?" Yang Hong was clearly a little proud as she replied, "Qinshan was called the piano capital. Ever since I can remember, my mother forced me to practice piano. That's right, I've even reached the 10th level of piano. In high school, I even attended Qinshan City's most prestigious piano competition." Upon hearing this, Zhao Yu could feel a chill crawl up his body, leaving his body with goosebumps. "So," Zhao Yu asked, his voice almost shaking, "the competition you attended, which one was it?" "The 10th one, why?" Yang Hong answered without a pause. Zhao Yu's hand shook, the expensive iPhone 6s once again fell on the ground. "Don't joke." After a brief moment of shock, Zhao Yu regained his rationality and said to Yang Hong, "You can't lie to a police officer. The largest piano competition for high school students in Qinshan City, the 10th year? Are you kidding me? Why?" Yang Hong was puzzled. "This is the only thing that I'm proud of in my entire life. How could I get it wrong? It was indeed the 10th year. Let me ask you, where was the competition held?" Zhao Yu still did not believe her. Yang Hong gave it a thought and quickly got the right answer, "Second middle school." Yes. It was second middle school. Oh. Zhao Yu was surprised, but he still did not believe her. Immediately, he blurted out, "The 10th Grand Piano competition was 18 years ago. The participants were all 18 and 19-year-old high school students. How old are you now? 36? 37? Well," Yang Hong frowned, "I really can't tell if you are complimenting me or insulting me." Yang Hong pushed Zhao Yu away and took out her identification from her bag. Zhao Yu looked at it and was dumbfounded. The woman in front of him was actually 10 years older than himself. She was already 37. Holy sh*t. Zhao Yu could not believe it. He looked at Yang Hong in shock, "Really know how to maintain your youth. I thought you were a pretty young thing." Hehehe, Yang Hong naturally felt good hearing such compliments, but she rebuked, "If you want a pretty young thing, I can play matchmaker. My housemate, Hua Hua, is only 20. You interested?" No, that's not what I meant." By this point, Zhao Yu was not in the mood to flirt. His thoughts returned back to the lost hand case. This time, he strongly felt that the situation in front of him was not a coincidence. He could obtain some valuable information from the woman in front of him, who had participated in the 10th Grand Piano competition. "Hey! Other than praising my youthfulness, don't you have anything else to say?" Yang Hong stretched out her fair arms and flirted with Zhao Yu again. "Are you gonna let me have a taste of you, handsome young man?" On any other day, Zhao Yu would have pounced on his prey like a hungry tiger. But now, he had other things on his mind, and his male hormones were inactive. He held Yang Hong's cell phone and asked impatiently, "Tell me quickly, do you know Gao Tian, Yuan Lily, and Luo Mena? Yang Hong did not know what Zhao Yu wanted. She shook her head in bewilderment. The three of them participated in the same competition as you, and their rankings were at the front, at the 4th, 5th, and 6th. Does that mean anything to you? Zhao Yu asked hopefully. So they were finalists. Yang Hong exclaimed, then of course I wouldn't know them. I didn't have such good fortune, I didn't even get into the top 20. I only remembered that the male student who was the champion was quite good-looking. I think he was accepted by the capital's music college. Oh, Zhao Yu was speechless. After thinking for a long while, he asked, then do you know any others? Fellow competitors, or even teachers or judges? Hey. Yang Hong was getting impatient. She put up a stern face and said, Officer Zhao, so you're here to investigate? Why are you asking me all of this irrelevant stuff? Do you also play the piano? Stop pretending? Don't tell me I have to pay you 3,000 instead? Zhao Yu thought to himself, to get this woman to cooperate with the investigation, I will need to use some acting. With this thought, Zhao Yu spoke up, hey, and mysteriously made a silencing gesture before lowering his voice. He said to Yang Hong, remember, don't ever mention to anyone what I asked you today, understand? Once it's out, you'll have to go to court. This clearly worked on her. Yang Hong was stumped for a while and asked sheepishly, why? I don't know the people you mentioned. Is that a crime? Huh. Zhao Yu bellowed and returned her iPhone 6s, have you heard of the lost hand case? Ah. Yang Hong was in shock and nodded repeatedly. Qinshan City's lost hand case had given rise to much discussion last year, and everyone knew about it. This year, it happened again, and had already caused an uproar with the media. However, the police had used anonymous names for the victims, so Yang Hong did not know their real names. You mean? The lost hand case is linked to piano? Oh my goodness, Yang Hong was completely sucked in by Zhao Yu's words. Seeing that he had attained his goal, Zhao Yu brought his acting to another level, I think you have to be careful. According to the data, those who had their hands chopped off had all participated in the 10th Grand Piano competition. They have all stopped playing the piano, and they are all women. Ah. Yang Hong was terrified and held on tightly to Zhao Yu's arm, why am I so unlucky? The taser culprit targeted me, and now the chopping hand culprit also targets me. Do I really have such great charm? Seeing how anxious Yang Hong was, Zhao Yu wanted to laugh, but he could only control his laughter and carry on acting, but the culprit has only targeted the finalists so far, it won't be your turn for the time being. That's great! Yang Hong said timidly, Officer Zhao, you have to nab him fast. Having your hand chopped off for no reason is worse than, Yang Hong meant that it was worse than being raped by the taser culprit, but it was not easy for her to say that. Ain't I investigating now? Any details on the 10th Grand Piano competition that you can think of, tell me quick. Zhao Yu went with the flow, we can only solve the case this way. After all the acting and scares, Yang Hong dared not show her agitation anymore, and told Zhao Yu promptly, Officer Zhao. Those people you mentioned, I really have no recollection of them at all. The piano competition was so tense, and I was still a child. How could I remember? Yang Hong tapped her own forehead and tried hard to recall, the data on the competition I participated in is long gone. I have not touched piano for more than 10 years. Ugh. Discover EU chapters at novelby.co. Seeing Yang Hong's anxious look, Zhao Yu could not help but feel disappointed. Her expression was identical to the pregnant woman who had gotten 10th place. After all, it had been a long time, and many things had already disappeared and turned into ash. It's all right, don't panic, Zhao Yu urged. If you think of anything, just let me know. Looking at the beauty in front of him, Zhao Yu could not help but felt a little tempted to tease Yang Hong, as such chances were hard to come by. But Yang Hong did not follow his cue. She had set her heart on the matter and was trying her best to recall. Just as Zhao Yu went to reach out his hand, she suddenly frowned and asked, Officer Zhao, anyone and anything linked to the competition is relevant? Of course! The key to cracking a case usually lies in those inconspicuous details. Zhao Yu started to show off after just a few days of being a policeman. Why, did you have hemorrhoids on the competition day? No, Yang Hong had no reaction to Zhao Yu's joke. She seemed to have thought of something and was giving it serious thought. After deliberating for a long time, she said to Zhao Yu with uncertainty, "Officer Zhao, I think I vaguely remember, during that competition, there was something strange." "What is it?" Hearing Young Hong mention strange things, Zhao Yu was obviously very curious, and chased the topic. Young Hong started to recall, "I remember, during that year's preliminary competition, our Fengling County had an amazing student. I can't remember the name well, but she was a girl for sure, and even before the competition, she was famous in our county. Apparently, she passed the 10th level when she was only 12, and learned from the best instructor in the capital. Basically, she was super amazing." She continued, "If I recall, during the rematch, I actually saw her once. Her clothing was very old, and even had patches on it. I imagine her household wasn't very well off, but her piano skills were crazy. Even though we were all at the 10th level, we were clearly a level below her." Right, as if remembering something, Young Hong said in a hurry, "The weird thing happened here in Qianshan City. She crushed the competition with her insane scores, but for some reason, her name wasn't on the list of final competitors. Apparently, someone said she decided to retire from the competition the night before. Isn't that weird?" Zhao Yu carefully considered what Yang Hong said, and also felt it was very strange. He asked in a hurry, "You sure that she made it to the finals?" Yang Hong scratched her head with both hands, and smacked her lips, "It's really a blur right now. This might have been what I heard from other students' parents, or from my mom." "Oh right, I almost forgot. Just ask my mom. That year, she almost reached piano level 10 herself. If it's about piano, she will definitely remember." Unexpectedly, Yang Hong cared even more about the case than Zhao Yu. Not caring if she would bother the old lady so early in the morning, she called her mother without hesitation. Just so Zhao Yu could hear clearly, she even put it on speaker. The voice of an elderly quickly came through the phone. Yang Hong explained the situation to her mother. To make sure her mother cooperated, she even lied and said she was currently being interrogated in the police station. The old lady was scared by this, and immediately explained everything about the situation back then. Even though her summary was about the same as Yang Hong, the old lady was much more detailed. As it turned out, that year they indeed had a piano prodigy in Fengling County. She had shown promise since she was young. Despite her family's poor conditions, her parents gave everything in order to let her learn piano. According to the rumors, they even sold the village's shrine. And the girl genius also did not let her parents down. Within a few years, she won all kinds of awards, gaining fame in Fengling County. Before attending Qianshan City's 10th Grand Piano Competition, everyone had high expectations for her. They all expected her to be at least one of the top 3. Once one of the named universities target her, the girl could be considered set for life. Her future was endlessly bright. At the time, due to their similarity in age, Young Hong's mother often used the girl's various achievements to scold Young Hong, saying things like, "Both of you guys are learning piano, but do you see her? See how good she is?" But unexpectedly, the genius who entered into the final competition with such overwhelming momentum suddenly decided to drop out from the competition the night before. No one knew the reason for her sudden retirement, but there were many rumors. Some said she coughed up blood from exertion while practicing piano. Some said she was kidnapped. Some even said that she eloped with a boy. Ever since the piano competition, no one had seen the girl since even her parents had disappeared. Due to the suddenness of the situation, the competition organizers pulled her from 11th place, which caused the girl's name to not appear on the results. Even a few years after the competition, there were still people who talked about her. But as time passed, the genius in her household had long faded from everybody's minds. Child prodigy? Girl genius. Somehow, Zhao Yu subtly felt that the girl's sudden retirement had something to do with the case. What had happened to force her to retire the night before the competition? Then, after her retirement, why did she and her parents disappear? This would not have interested Zhao Yu on its own, but once it was connected to the lost hand case, it was incredibly perplexing. Zhao Yu instinctively felt that the girl's retirement from the competition had something to do with the lost hand case. If he could find her, then maybe he would uncover new evidence. Mom. Young Hong also cared about the case and asked through the phone, "Do you remember the name of that child prodigy?" "Li Dan." The old lady's memory was good. She spoke without hesitation, Fengling County's Li family. Not only was she from the same village as my mother, but she also had the same name as your second aunt. Child, if there's anything the police need, just come ask me, I'll confess everything I know. If you don't have any issues, don't stay at the police station for too long. Don't let people think you're doing bad things. Okay, Mom. I'm done, I'm going to hang up now. Yang Hong awkwardly hung up. The way the old lady said that she would confess everything made it seem like the two of them were criminals. That's my mom. Once she starts talking, there's no end. Yang Hong raised her head. How was it, Officer Zhao? Was this helpful for your investigation? Foling County, Li family, Li Dan. Zhao Yu repeated the information. I'll have to do some research before I know. If this helps the case, I'll give you a Good Samaritan's award. Keep the certificate, I'm in debt to you anyway. Yang Hong joked, but next time when you jump to our balcony, make sure to tell me first. There won't be a next time. Zhao Yu promised. But after the promise, the two stared at each other for a good 3 seconds. The atmosphere was more than a little awkward. Zhao Yu pointed at Yang Hong, then at himself, as if wanting to say something but could not find the right words. Up.dfrm no/v/e/lb I n.co/m. It's fine. I got it. Yang Hong was very understanding. The case is more important, you have something on your mind. As for us, we wouldn't be able to enjoy ourselves anyway. What's the point then? You saved me, I will never forget that. The one-time free service is a long-term promise. Great. Zhao Yu gave the other a thumb up, then grabbed Yang Hong's phone. Here, leave you phone number and WeChat. Once I catch the culprit and get the reward, I'll take you to a 4-star hotel. Then, not even sure why, Zhao Yu gave the other a salute and turned to leave. You're leaving now? How are you going to get back? Yang Hong asked with worry. You're not going to go to the police station in that, right? How about I find some clothes for you? Before Yang Hong had finished, she heard the sound of Zhao Yu closing the door. That guy. Always in a hurry. Yang Hong looked at the empty house, and felt rather uncomfortable. Thinking back on what Zhao Yu had said about the lost hand case, she could not help but make a cutting motion on her right wrist with her left hand. She felt goosebumps cover her body. Bribery. On the car ride to Li Village, Li Baini blurted out to Zhao Yu, followed by her own reasoning, someone might have bribed the girl prodigy, gave her a huge sum of money, and got her to withdraw from the competition. Without her as a strong competitor, the whoever paid her would be able to place. Interesting. Zhao Yu said while driving, or it could be that someone did not get into the finals and only got 11th place, so he bribed Li Dan, got her to withdraw so that he himself could get into the finals by filling in the position. So, the pregnant woman was 10th place, could she be? No. Li Baini said, the sequence of getting into the finals does not determine one's final placement. The 10th competitor who got into the finals could theoretically be the champion too. Oh, that means we have to check who was the lucky one who got into the finals from 11th place by exception? Zhao Yu wondered. No, senior, we could be wrong. Li Baini quickly negated her own speculation, it's not bribery. Think about it, the girl prodigy was after the top 3 position. Her destiny could only be changed if she got into top 3, and no amount of money could buy that. If I were her parents, I would never let others win, regardless of the amount of money someone offered me. After all, it was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. That's true. Then, could it be because of a threat? Zhao Yu clenched his fist. Someone threatened the girl prodigy to withdraw from the competition. If she didn't, then her whole family would be killed. Ugh. Li Baini pouted, you make them sound like gangsters. Kids who learned piano during that time, could they be so evil? Visit no.v3lb/n.cm for new OVL. To sum it up, something must have happened during that piano competition. Or else, it would not be possible that all of the victims were in the final competitors list. Zhao Yu said seriously. He drove the car at high speed, eager to make a thorough investigation. However, Zhao Yu was depressed once again by what happened next. He spent the whole morning visiting Li Village with Li Baini, but found little evidence. According to the village secretary and old neighbors, the family of the girl prodigy, Li Dan, had sold away their ancestral house more than 20 years ago and left Li Village. Although they had a few relatives, they had little contact, and they had not been seen ever since that piano competition. Nobody knew where the whole family had gone. Prior to this, Li Baini had checked on the family in the police station, but there was also no record. She had thought that the village visit would be fruitful, but the result had been very disappointing. The girl prodigy's family seemed to have vanished from the earth. Zhao Yu and Li Beini even suspected that the family had met their end. Before the lost hand case was solved, would a murder case be discovered? Not being able to find Li Dan's family meant that the clues were lost once again. This made Zhao Yu extremely depressed. He felt like a spring that had been stretched repeatedly and was about to break. Holy **T. Why? Why is it so difficult to investigate this case? Zhao Yu thought in frustration. Every time after they had gone through tremendous effort to find a small clue, they ended up being stopped and had to give up halfway. Zhao Yu hit the steering wheel furiously, while Li Beini tried to console him. They could not delay anymore. They hurried back to protect Li Xinhua. Today was the 26th. They could not let the culprit chop off her hand. But we can't place all our bets on this. After a brief moment of despondence, Zhao Yu had not given up. If left with no other options, I'll go and see the 3 victims. They did not know that this is linked to piano. If I ask them to think, they might be able to recall something. That works too. Let's split up the work. Li Beini seemed to have thought of something and said hastily, oh yeah. I suddenly thought of this, we can continue searching for Li Dan. Maybe we can ask that person for help. Which person? Zhao Yu did not understand. Don't you know? We have an expert at finding people in our police station. If he is willing to help, we might be able to find something. There's such a person? Zhao Yu was surprised. Why didn't you say so earlier? Ugh. This person is weak in case investigation, but a top-notch expert in finding people. I've heard that he has a secret formula for finding people. Anyone who's been missing for years, he can find them fast. Oh. Such a talent exists? Zhao Yu scratched his head. So, he's in the missing persons unit? Come on. Stop pretending, don't you know? Li Beini said, it's Zhang Jingfeng. The one seated beside you in the office. What? Zhao Yu was a little confused. How could it be him? Isn't he? Yes. The one on the cold case investigation team with Lu Huan, the weirdo team made up of weirdos. Li Beini continued, Zhang Jingfeng has a bad reputation in the missing persons unit. Whenever a colleague would ask him for help to find a person, he would ask for something in return. If there wasn't anything, he would make excuses and not do his work properly. He has been given the nickname Mudfish. His colleagues in the missing persons unit could not put up with him anymore and reported him. So the higher-ups sent him to the cold case investigation team. Although it's affiliated with Team A, if you want his help you've got to be prepared to spend some money. Interesting. Zhao Yu did not expect Zhang Jingfeng to be such a person. He had thought that he was a slacker with no aspirations. He never would have imagined that he had such talent. Zhao Yu gave Zhang Jingfeng a call before returning to the police station and explained the situation. Unexpectedly, Zhang Jingfeng did not give any excuses and gladly agreed to help Zhao Yu. He cheerfully asked Zhao Yu to send the information to him fast, and he would help him check in the office. After hanging up, Zhao Yu shrugged at Li Beini, did you get it right? Didn't he immediately agree to help? Well. Li Beini sighed knowingly, that's his usual tactic, agreeing to help you on the surface, but not doing anything until you're desperate. He will state his conditions, and if you don't agree, he will never help. Really? Zhao Yu was still doubtful. Why was there such a deceitful person in the police force? It's no different from untrustworthy ruffians. When the two returned to the police station, Zhang Jingfeng was not there. When Zhao Yu called him, Zhang Jingfeng said he was having diarrhea. He said that he would be a little late and asked Zhao Yu to wait for him in the office. Zhao Yu urged him, saying that this was an important matter. It was the key to solving the case, so it must be done properly. Again, Zhang Jingfeng cheekily agreed and said he would make it quick. But 20 minutes later, he was still nowhere in sight. Zhao Yu made another call and he did not even pick up. What did I say? Li Beini smiled smugly, I detest such people, if you don't give him any benefit, he will never help you check. Ha ha ha, Zhao Yu laughed instead. He tapped Li Beini on the shoulder and said with confidence, when I first became a man in society, my forte was dealing with weasels like this. Just wait and see, I'm not gonna spend a single cent, but he will behave himself and help me check. The Key Case Investigation Unit had a certain rule: every investigator was required to have a tracking system on their phone so the leaders could know their position at any time. This way, if there was any danger while investigating cases, the leaders could respond in a timely manner. Zhang Jingfeng was obviously not an exception. Li Beinei quickly found his location, but unexpectedly, Zhang Jingfeng was not at home, but at a local pool bar. That sneaky, dishonest rat, who, despite agreeing to help with the investigation, was casually playing pool. "It's fine, leave this to me," Zhao Yu told Li Beinei. "You can go first. Investigate Li Xinhua's new evidence, and let me know if something comes up." "Senior, what are you going to do to Zhang Jingfeng?" Li Beinei was a little worried. "He is an official investigator, you can't touch him. Please reconsider whatever you're thinking of doing. Your senior isn't that stupid, don't worry." Zhao Yu laughed. "Don't worry, he'll definitely help me investigate. Whether he can find the information or not, it's not up to me." Once he split up with Li Beinei, Zhao Yu quickly arrived at the pool bar. It was noon, so there were not many people. There were only 2 pool tables in use out of the 8. Zhang Jingfeng was standing in front of one of the tables, rubbing the end of his cue stick with chalk as he considered his next shot. The person Zhang Jingfeng was against was Noi Lianghuan, but Zhao Yu knew him anyway. He was a young police officer in the police dispatch department who apparently had exceptional pool skills. Seeing someone closing in on him, Zhang Jingfeng raised his head. When he saw Zhao Yu, he paused. The tip of his mouth raised as he started laughing. "Oh, little Zhao? What brought you here?" The man was truly shameless. He did not even mention that he was supposed to be helping Zhao Yu. "Nothing brought me here, except a fire." Zhao Yu smiled gently, pointing at his own chest, signifying his heart was on fire. He was angry. "Ha ha ha, it's just official business, what's the rush?" Zhang Jingfeng continued to smile as he talked. "No matter how big the fire is, can't affect you that much, right?" Ha ha ha. Seeing Zhang Jingfeng's wild laughter, the young officer also started laughing alongside him. Zhao Yu stopped smiling and spoke coldly. "You know why I'm here. One word, help or not, just tell me straight up." Zhao Yu knew that Zhang Jingfeng was waiting for him to mention benefits, but he simply refused to bring it up. Zhang Jingfeng's smile faded away. He looked like he was pondering something. Then, as if he finally had decided, he started laughing again. "Zhao, look at you. Help or not, we're all good friends here. What's this problem worth? Come, let's play a few rounds first. Hit a few shots first." Zhang Jingfeng was clearly unwilling to help Zhao Yu. If he did not hear anything about his benefits, he would not bring up helping Zhao Yu. What was one to do? With their stances clear, Zhao Yu no longer withheld anything. He first looked around with some reservation, then glanced sideways at the pool table and asked coldly, "Okay, so, how much are you guys playing for?" "He. Zhang Jingfeng laughed. "I couldn't tell, but apparently you're an expert. You know how we live paycheck to paycheck already, so not too much. Usually a cue for $50. How about it?" "A cue for 50? Zhao Yu feigned interest. "Then, how many shots can I take?" "What are you saying?" Zhang Jingfeng's eyes bulged. "However many shots you want." "Oh, so what you're saying is that your pool skills are pretty good. You want to make some bank off of me?" Ha ha ha, Zhang Jingfeng laughed for a good reason. His pool skills were exceptionally high, and even in the neighboring area, it was hard for him to find a match. "Okay. You said it." Zhao Yu pointed at him with his finger. "1 cue, 50, and I can make as many shots as I want." "No problem." Zhang Jingfeng shouted at the service desk. "Boss. Set the table for us, today I'll have a go with my bro here." The boss was a burly man. Hearing the call, he hurried over to set the table. Unexpectedly, Zhao Yu blocked him and grabbed a cue. Then, under everyone's shocked gaze, he slammed it straight against his thigh. The sturdy cue broke in half with a thundering sound. "Ka-cha! 50!" Zhao Yu shouted loudly. He then grabbed the next one, swinging it through the air as if he were drawing cymbal. Then he broke another, making the same sound. 100. Ka-cha! 150. Zhao Yu's thigh started to hurt, so he flexed his elbow, throwing the cue roughly into the side of the pool table. With a loud caw sound, the cue split in two yet again. 200! Only when he yelled 200 did the stunned crowd finally react. You wanna die? The boss yelled, stepping forward to restrain Zhao Yu. But Zhao Yu simply turned sideways and punched him. The impact of the punch was strong, hitting his face like a thunderclap, and when the boss lowered his head in recoil, he slammed into the pool table. The huge force caused him to bounce backwards and fall heavily onto the ground. He lay face up towards the ceiling. Zhang Jingfeng and the young police officer were in complete shock, unable to even take a step. Zhao Yu exhaled as if nothing had happened, as if he were simply doing cardio. To him, he truly had not worked out this hard in a while. Zhang! Zhao Yu did not even blink. Hitting shots really isn't that exciting. How about we throw balls too? As he spoke, he picked up a pool ball and smiled. How about a ball for 20? Good? What? Not even waiting for the Zhang to process what he had said, Zhao Yu flexed his shoulder and threw the ball straight up, causing a chandelier to smash to pieces. With a loud sound, the glass shards fell to the ground, scaring everyone. Visit NOV3LB/N.CM for new OVL. Go! Zhao Yu reached for another ball and threw it straight at the window. With a loud sound, the glass shattered. Then, he threw a ball straight at Zhang Jingfeng, scaring him to shudder and retreat backwards, but he lost his footing and fell on the ground. Zhao Yu's movement was actually fake. He had only pretended to throw the ball. Seeing Zhang Jingfeng fall, he grinned and threw the ball for real. The ball whizzed past Zhang Jingfeng's ear. With a whoosh sound, the ball flew by, scaring Zhang Jingfeng into holding his head as he yelled in shock. Whoosh! Zhao Yu continued. The balls were slamming next to Zhang Jingfeng one by one, not actually touching him. Okay. Okay. Stop. Stop. Finally, Zhang Jingfeng could not take it anymore and raised his hands in defeat. I'll go look. I'll search. Okay? Zhao Yu. Zhang Jingfeng got up and patted the dust off his body. He scolded Zhao Yu, you're a madman. Damn you, Zhao Yu held the broken cue and took a big step toward Zhang Jingfeng. He looked like he was going to stab Zhang Jingfeng to death with the cue. I'll check. I'll check all right? Zhang Jingfeng waved his hands frantically. It's just checking on a person. Do you have to do this? I should be the one asking you this. It's just checking on a person. Do you have to do this? Zhao Yu rebutted. Okay, I'm scared of you, let's go. Zhang Jingfeng admitted defeat. As shameless as he could be, he was also afraid of Zhao Yu's dramatic attitude. Wait! Although Zhao Yu had achieved his goal, he had no intention of letting the matter rest. He pointed to the broken cues and said, I've hit so many cues but you have not paid me. What? Zhang Jingfeng was speechless. Let me calculate. Zhao Yu took his time to count, 50 for a cue. I hit 4 so that would be 200 exactly. Oh, for the balls, 20 for one ball, I hit 7, so 140, plus 200. You owe me 340 yuan in total. Let me say this first, I don't give discounts. What? You? Zhang Jingfeng was going crazy. What kind of logic was that? We were playing billiards, who played it this way? Hitting the cue meant breaking it? Zhang Jingfeng thought to himself. Yeah. Zhao Yu raised his eyebrows. Didn't we agree on that? You want to cheat, or should we play a little longer? Zhao Yu took another cue in his hand. No, the young police officer ran over and nodded. We've lost. I'll pay the money. I'll pay. He hurriedly pulled out his wallet and placed a few 100 yuan notes in front of Zhao Yu. There, 500 yuan. Keep the change. Zhao Yu slowly took the money in his hands, turned his head sideways, and stared at the young police officer. All right. You're sensible. You have a bright future. He turned around and kicked the owner who was laying on the floor. He threw the 500 yuan on his face and said, Hey? Are you dead? Take this money so you can buy some candy for good fortune. Maybe if you eat it every day, you can go to the police station's key case investigation unit and report me without me getting revenge on you. Otherwise, shut up. Understood? The owner had slowly regained consciousness. Seeing the fierce-looking Zhao Yu, he nodded his head timidly. I wouldn't dare. I wouldn't dare. Hey! Zheng! Why are you not moving? Zhao Yu ordered. Zhang Jingfeng had no choice but to lower his head as he left the billiard center with Zhao Yu. Tearing down one shop as he had just done had been an everyday affair for Zhao Yu in the past. He felt a little unnatural going back to his old trade again because he was missing 50 to 60 men as subordinates. As Green Dragon Clan's top fighter, Zhao Yu had his own saying, if it can be settled by force, I will never consider other methods. It was better to torture one's mind rather than killing him. After Zhao Yu's insane behavior, both the owner and Zhang Jingfeng were suppressed by him and dared not act rashly. Zhang Jingfeng followed him back to the office cooperatively to check on the girl prodigy's family. Finding people had been Zhang Jingfeng's specialty, and he did not want Zhao Yu to see it. However, Zhao Yu was worried that the fellow would simply go through the motions and not put much effort into it. He pulled up a chair and looked carefully at how Zhang Jingfeng operated. Zhang Jingfeng was infuriated. Because Zhao Yu had such a shameless and extreme superior, there was nothing he could do to retaliate. Zhao Yu was no fool, and it did not take him long to figure out Zhang Jingfeng's method of finding people. He did not use conventional ways such as searching for identification, household registers, bank cards, or immigration records. Instead, he logged onto the medical database of major hospitals to retrieve medical records that matched the targets. All West ch.rs on n.o/vli/n/.cm. Brilliant! Zhao Yu could not help but felt great admiration. This was indeed brilliant. Even if a person changed their name, it was not possible for him to change their own medical records unless they had not visited the hospital in their entire life. Soon, Zhang Jingfeng had retrieved 6 or 7 medical records that matched the girls. The earliest one can be traced back to 15 years ago. Zhang Jingfeng pointed to the information on top. Li Shushuan, from Fengling County Li Village. The ID card number matches the number at the registry office. He was admitted to City Hospital's cardiology department due to heart disease. After that, he was admitted again twice for the same condition. And this, Zhang Jingfeng pointed to another, this is the latest medical information. It was registered last May at City Hospital's oncology department. The patient is Hao Fenglian, from Fengling County Li Village. The registered ID card number also matches the original number. The ID card has expired, but because she paid her own fees, the hospital still used the expired ID card number for registration. Li Shushuan was the name of Li Dan's father, and Hao Fenglian was the mother's name. Hearing this news, it was at least proven that not only had the girl prodigy's family not vanished from Earth, but that they had been living in the city. Huh? That's even more strange, Zhao Yu pondered. Since they were still living in the city, why did they disappear? Could it be there was really a problem somewhere? Zhao Yu asked, Zhang, is it possible to find the patient's address? Zhao Yu asked hastily, I want the most recent one. Yes. Zhang Jingfeng said as he typed. But if she had deliberately tried to hide it and gave a false address during admission, then I have no solution. Zhang Jingfeng was indeed an expert. He got the result right away. Here it is. Zhao Yu bent and looked at the screen. He had goosebumps all over after just taking a glance. He typed the address into the map and was thunderstruck. What? Zhang Jingfeng saw that Zhao Yu did not look right and wanted to ask what exactly happened, but was stopped by Zhao Yu. Quick! Zhao Yu shouted anxiously, send all this information to my cell phone. Don't leave out a single word. I have to run. Well, Zhang Jingfeng was clueless about what had happened and could only follow Zhao Yu's instructions. Zhao Yu left the police station and drove the police car toward the address Zhang Jingfeng had found. While driving, Zhao Yu felt extremely nervous and his palms were sweaty. Although he was still unclear about the sequence of events of the Lost Hand case, the newly obtained address strengthened his belief that he was definitely going in the right direction. This time, I can't be wrong again? Fearing Chu Ping would solve the case before him, as Zhao Yu worked on finding the girl, he never stopped listening in on Chu Ping's conversations. The invisible eavesdropper had an effective period of 47 hours. There were still a lot of time before it wore off. According to the information from the eavesdropper, Chu Ping had already realized her investigation direction could be wrong and was currently looking for a new direction. Team B had also already guessed the possibility of revenge for the motive. There were even some who mentioned the word piano. If they continued like that, they would surely catch up to Zhao Yu. Holy sh*t. Hearing the information from Team B and seeing the address on the map, Zhao Yu could not help but be a little nervous. He was not sure if his new evidence would actually help him find the culprit. Apparently, the address Zhang Jingfeng helped Zhao Yu find was Qingshan City HY District, Jiangjun Temple No. 53. This address did not seem like much, but to Zhao Yu, who was familiar with the Lost Hand case, it was quite special. The area around Jiangjun Temple was exactly where the culprit had escaped to after cutting off Luo Meina's hand. Chu Ping had already analyzed it before. Since the culprit had never been caught running away on camera, they deduced that the culprit must have been very familiar with the area, or even lived there. All west ch.rs on n.o/vli/n/.cm. It seemed that the second guess was correct. According to the map, Jiangjun Temple No. 53 was only a few hundred meters away from where Luo Meina's BMW had been stopped. If the culprit walked fast, it would not even take him 2 minutes to get away. The short distance almost made Zhao Yu feel shocked. Was the culprit really brave enough to commit a crime in front of their house? Could I be wrong, he asked himself. Could it be like before, where he hit a dead end? Due to his previous mistakes, Zhao Yu's confidence was surprisingly low. He was even considering that the girl genius had nothing to do with the case. If he was wrong again, what would he do? With these conflicting thoughts in mind, Zhao Yu made his way to the destination. Even though Jiangjun Temple was part of the HY district, this area was at the edge of Qingshan City already, and had come into being by combining neighboring districts over the past few years. Most houses were built in the old way, and the residents were mostly poor. Citizens often called this area the slum. Here you would meet all kinds of people. Other than a few actual residents, most were migrant workers. There were even some who sold illegal goods. Similar to the other houses, Jiangjun Temple No. 53 was a broken old house. From the outside, you could only see 3 rooms and a yard. The area inside was not too big, and the walls were slightly slanted, giving off a feeling of unreliability. No way. Zhao Yu thought. Li Dan's family lived in a place like this? Looking at the ugly iron door, Zhao Yu was filled with suspicion as he knocked on the door. But someone quickly responded. A weak woman's voice rang out, "Coming, who is it?" Zhao Yu did not answer in a hurry, but looked through a crack in the door. The person who spoke was a hunchbacked old lady. Zhao Yu asked carefully. "Excuse me, is this Hao Fenglian's family?" "Yes. Yes." "Wait a minute." "Oh." Zhao Yu's eyes brightened. He was surprised that it was actually Hao Fenglian. It seemed like the address on her medical record was not fake. When the old lady answered, Zhao Yu stared at her. The old woman did not appear strange. It seemed like she had not guessed Zhao Yu's identity yet. The door squeaked opened. Despite the elderly woman's weak body and pale face, she looked very gentle and kind. "Youngster, what do you need?" "Oh, hello." Zhao Yu reflexively saluted, then spoke openly, "I am a police officer, and I would like some information. Please give me your cooperation." "Oh, it's the police. Quick, come in and we can talk." The elderly did not even suspect Zhao Yu's identity, but very openly invited him in. "Mr. Police, I wonder, what is it that you need from me?" Originally, Zhao Yu was hoping that by being frank with his intentions, he could see the other's reaction. If their expression changed and showed worry, then maybe they had something to hide. But seeing as the old woman was calm as usual, Zhao Yu could not help but feel a little disappointed, feeling as if this was a waste of time. The elderly woman led Zhao Yu into the house. Seeing the simple decor, one could tell their life was very simple and poor. "Officer, I rarely leave the house, I'm sick." The elderly woman offered Zhao Yu a plastic stool and asked, "What is it that you wanted to ask of me?" Zhao Yu looked through the elderly's medical record and knew clearly why she was sick. Last year in May, she was in the central hospital undergoing a surgery to remove the majority of her stomach. There were only 2 reasons for such a surgery. One is severe gastric ulcers, the other was stomach cancer. The elderly woman unfortunately had the latter. Zhao Yu knew that due to the 9 months of chemotherapy following her surgery, the elderly had lost all of her hair, and she immediately knew what she had. But Zhao Yu was only investigating a case, so there was no need to mention this. "I just wanted to know about your family situation." Zhao Yu was very much to the point. "Do you have a daughter named Li Dan?" "Yes, yes." The elderly nodded, but she hasn't used this name in a long time. She changed her name. Now she's called Li Yunxiao. Li Yunxiao? Zhao Yu paused and asked, "Do you live with your daughter?" "Of course." The elderly woman was honest. "Our old man died early, leaving me and my daughter to survive together. My daughter is very obedient, everything in and out of the house is taken care of by her alone." Oh, to think that the girl genius's father had already left this world was sad. "What kind of job does your daughter do?" Zhao Yu continued questioning. "Oh, my daughter is very talented." Mentioning her daughter, the elderly woman's face was bright with pride. "These past years, she's done many jobs, sometimes even part-time. Like cab driver, nurse, this year she even helped out in a theater troupe." She continued, "But, my daughter also lived a hard life. In order to take care of me, she hasn't found a husband yet. Mr. Policeman, you seem pretty suitable. How about I introduce you to my daughter?" "What? Helping out in a theater troupe?" Zhao Yu thought to himself. Zhao Yu was alerted instinctively. The one-sided film used in a BMW was from a theater troupe. Could it be? Zhao Yu thought carefully and asked, "I wanted to ask, did your daughter used to play the piano?" "Ah." Unexpectedly, when the calm old lady heard Zhao Yu mention the word piano, it seemed as if she had been hit by lightning. She stood up in a hurry and yelled, "Ah, Mr. Policeman. Please don't mention piano again. If my daughter knew, then it'll be bad. That word, it's a taboo in our family." Seeing the old lady so agitated, Zhao Yu was extremely curious. Something must have happened to the girl that year. Zhao Yu told her it was a very important matter, one that he urgently needed to understand, and hoped that the old lady would cooperate in the investigation. He even threatened her indirectly, saying that if she did not cooperate, he would have to personally ask her daughter when she came back. The old lady was very worried about her daughter hearing the word piano. After weighing the pros and cons, she could only tell Zhao Yu the truth. Zhao Yu had had many guesses regarding the girl prodigy's sudden withdrawal from the competition. However, after hearing the story from the old lady, he realized that the matter was far more complicated than he had imagined. "Yes, my daughter Li Dan played the piano, and was even a piano prodigy well known in Fengling County," the old lady said with a heavy expression. "We only have one daughter. Her father and I spent our entire fortune on her. In order for her to learn piano in the capital, we even sold our ancestral house." She continued, "My daughter was very sensible. She knew that her father and I worked very hard, so she put in much more effort than anyone else learning piano. She had won competitions on the county level, city level, and even on the province level. Although we were very poor then, we saw hope in Dandan, so we felt fortunate. Her father was very confident that our Dandan would have a bright future and bring glory to our ancestors, better than people who had sons." But, at this point, the old lady's hands started to tremble, and a painful expression crossed her face, but our dream was completely shattered during the Qinshan Grand Piano Competition. "Auntie, are you talking about the 10th Qinshan Grand Piano Competition? The one that was held at Second Middle School?" Zhao Yu asked. Yes. To be exact, it was the 10th Qinshan High School Student Grand Piano Competition. That competition, I will never forget in this lifetime. The old lady was tearing up. She massaged her stomach, probably because she was agitated, and managed to continue her story after a while. Although it was just a city-level competition, it was very important, and it had a great significance to our Dandan. Only graduating high school students were eligible to participate in this competition. If a competitor was able to place well in the competition, they could be enrolled in advance by some art universities or provincial schools of higher learning. It was a great platform for the piano students. She continued, "If our Dandan could get into the finals, we would have been able to save a hefty amount of money for her future college studies." As a result, she was extremely nervous during that competition. She was determined to place well and make us proud. Initially, the competition began smoothly. The qualifiers, trials, and preliminaries, Dandan overcame them all, and her extraordinary potential was visible from the very beginning. Some teachers even believed that with Dandan's potential, it was not only possible that she could move to the finals, but that it was possible for her to emerge as the champion. Soon, Dandan placed third in the preliminary round and got into the finals. We were all elated. If Dandan was able to perform up to her usual standard during the finals, she would have certainly gotten into the art university. But Dandan wasn't satisfied. She felt that she was on par with the two who had placed ahead of her in the preliminary round and wanted to increase the difficulty of the piece she would play during the finals to surpass them. In the end, the old lady lowered her head helplessly, and tears flowed down her aged face. It was pointless for Zhao Yu to say anything, so he waited patiently for the old lady to calm down before she continued. To make things fair, the competitors had to play on the same piano during the finals. To familiarize the competitors with the piano, the committee would allocate practice time for each competitor in advance. The old lady sighed and said the other competitors were all from the city and had some connections with the organizing committee. The good time slots for the practice session were all given to them. Since we didn't have any connections, we only managed to get the last slot, which started at 8 p.m. Check out LTS-TVL on novl/bin.cm. We thought, 8 p.m., so be it. It wasn't too late anyway. Moreover, there was no time limit for the last person, so you could practice for as long as you'd like. The musical piece that Dandan had chosen was still not satisfactory, so she practiced more. But God knows what happened during the day, and our time was pushed back to after 9 p.m. Although Dandan's dad tried to reason with the management, the finals were the next day, and his efforts to reason went in vain. We had no other choice but to wait. It was almost 9:30 when the child finally got to practice. Everyone had left, and there were only 3 of us in the hall. Dandan had very good psychological qualities and was not affected at all. She put her heart and soul into practicing the piano. But, the old lady was shaking all over. She continued with much difficulty. Her father and I were listening in the audience. The child played beautifully, and we were enchanted. Suddenly we heard Dandan scream. Her father and I rushed on stage and saw the child holding onto her right hand, and blood was oozing out, staining her clothes red. There was blood on the piano, the floor, everywhere. What? Zhao Yu was engrossed in the old woman's story, and exclaimed suddenly. He would have never expected such a thing to have occurred that year. The child was terrified and looked at us in shock. Her father and I were freaked out. The old lady continued painfully. We did not know what happened to the child. Seeing that she was bleeding non-stop, we immediately brought Dandan to the hospital. There was no one around the hall, so we did not manage to get any help. We couldn't get a cab at all, until finally a kind truck driver drove us to the hospital. After the doctor examined my child, he said that her middle finger had been cut by a sharp object. Not only were the tendons and some joints injured, but half of her finger had also been cut off. We needed to find the finger to reattach it, otherwise the poor girl's finger would be permanently disabled. It was the first time her father and I had come across something like that, and we were dumbstruck. Hearing the doctor telling us to go back and find the rest of her finger, her father rushed back to the hall to search for it. But when her father returned to the hall, the blood stains on the piano were all gone. The piano had been wiped clean, and Dandan's finger could not be found. At that point, the old lady could not restrain herself and cried out. Without the small piece of finger, Dandan's hand couldn't make a full recovery. The woman paused for a long time before she could continue. Wiping away her tears, she spoke. When the doctors were doing the surgery to repair Dandan's finger, Dandan's father knelt in front of them, begging them that no matter what, they couldn't let Dandan's hand be harmed, that she was the family's only hope. But even then, the doctor told us after the surgery that the joints in Dandan's finger had been severely injured, that she wouldn't make a full recovery. Her middle finger's ability to bend was severely affected. Do you know what that meant for a child whose entire life was piano? Being unable to bend her finger was equivalent to a death sentence. Upon hearing this, my husband had a heart attack and fainted right there. If it wasn't for the emergency treatment, my husband would have left us then and there. Then what happened? Zhao Yu asked for more details. On top of feeling pity for the child prodigy and her family's misfortune, he also had a bigger question in mind. After that, we obviously went to the competition organizers and called the police. The elderly woman's face was expressionless, but by that time the finale of the piano competition had already started. With so many districts arriving, the government officials, the judges, and the host didn't want Dandan's accident to affect other contestants. So, they buried this incident and asked the police to only investigate after the competition was over. I was just an ignorant housewife. My daughter and my husband were both in the hospital at the time. What was I supposed to do? Other than listening to them, what could I do? Regret was written all over the woman's face. After the competition was over, everyone had already left, so how could you catch anyone? The police investigated the incident as minimally as they could, and then they left it at that. The only thing we knew was that the thing that had cut my daughter's finger was some sort of sharp and sturdy razor that had been hidden between the piano's black keys. According to Dandon's recollection, the razor had been purposely placed in an unusual spot. Only Dandon's piece required her to play a very heavy note, so that only she would be cut by the razor. Then whoever placed the razor was targeting your daughter? Zhao Yu asked. That seems to be the case. Even if other contestants had played across that spot, nobody was playing an especially heavy note, so if they had been cut it wouldn't have been as severe as what happened to my daughter. Then the culprit had to be one of the other 9 contestants. Someone was jealous of your daughter's talent, or feared that she would do better than them. That's such a low blow. Zhao Yu could not help but be angry. When your daughter's hand was cut, the person was definitely watching. As soon as you left, they came out and erased the evidence, took away the razor, and even took the piece of your daughter's finger. What a sneaky bastard! Of course, we knew that. The elderly shook her head helplessly, but at that time there were no surveillance cameras, and no weapon. Not to mention the long time between the incident and the investigation. All fingerprints and bloodstains were long gone. With no evidence, how could they investigate? Even though my husband he tried many times after his recovery, he came to a dead end every time. Tisk, tisk. Zhao Yu thought to himself, if this had happened now, then they definitely could have caught the sneaky bastard. This type of person is completely unforgivable. At first, even though Dandon's finger was hurt, the elderly continued, with time and practice, she regained most function. Not only did her finger grow back partially, but the finger was able to bend a little as well. It just took a little more effort. But after a long time, her dad and I realized that Dandon had not only injured her finger that day, but her heart as well. Having injured her hand caused Dandon to have severe trauma. At first, she tried to play some piano, but gradually she became too afraid. At her worst, she started shaking as soon as she saw a piano. Me and her dad spent quite a bit of money looking for a psychologist to help, but her trauma never went away. This went on for a few years, and our family of 3 was completely exhausted and bankrupt, without any hope. This truly crushed Dandon's dad, and he became bedridden and left us soon after. The old woman took a long sigh. This is life. At least my daughter was very strong and isn't afraid to work hard, so the 2 of us managed to survive. But now, perhaps the old woman wanted to talk about her cancer, but after some thought she decided not to and changed the subject. Mr. Police Officer, now that you know, if you see my daughter, please don't mention piano. As a favor to me. Speaking once again of her pain, the elderly held back more tears. Zhao Yu nodded, and pitied their family greatly. If they had just been poor then it would not have been so bad, but they had had such a bright future, but it had it stolen away from them. Such misfortune was even more pitiful. If this tragedy had not have happened, then their family might have been able to live like Luo Mena or Li Xinhua, or even better than them. If it was like this, Zhao Yu continued to ask, then how come you guys didn't go back home? With such a difficult situation, didn't you guys have any relatives to help you out? You see, the elderly sighed again. Dandon's father was very stubborn. Our relatives were all on bad terms with him. Back then, after we sold our shrine, he left the village after a huge fight. How could we have the face to go back? Oh, no wonder the girl prodigy and her family had disappeared after the piano competition. Zhao Yu never expected the truth to be something like this. Even though the story was unexpected, it proved the story of the lost hand case. What the old woman had said was enough to confirm that the direction of Zhao Yu's investigation was completely correct. According to the woman's description, the girl prodigy had become the lost hand case's primary suspect. The reason was clear. Li Dan's entire life had been ruined by the piano competition. She had all the reason in the world to want revenge against someone who ruined her. Li Dan had injured her right hand, and the victims of the lost hand case had all lost their right hand. There had to be some sort of connection between the two. Zhao Yu had read Li Dan's mother's medical record. The previous year in May, her mother underwent surgery right at the end of the 2 lost hand case. Then, after 9 months of chemotherapy, her mother had entered resting period, so she finally had the chance to do it again, enacting the 3rd incident of the lost hand case. Not to mention, she had worked at the theater troupe, and her house was also so close to key locations in the case. Zhao Yu finally felt that this time he had found the truth behind the lost hand case. The culprit he had been painstakingly looking for should be the child prodigy, Li Dan. Do you know where your daughter is? Zhao Yu had a bad feeling about Li Dan and asked the old lady immediately, how can I find her? Officer, I've told you everything that you asked. Why do you still want to look for my daughter? The old lady was still worried about the piano issue, afraid that Zhao Yu might add salt to her daughter's wound. Nothing much. We only need some information about her, so it's not necessary that we find her. Zhao Yu showed her his police badge and spouted nonsense. I'm just fulfilling my mission. The police are currently investigating something related to that piano competition. Who knows, we might be able to find the culprit who harmed your daughter. Oh, the old lady pondered for a while and said to Zhao Yu, my daughter should be with the performance troupe. Probably the City Cultural Palace performance troupe? When she left today, she told me she might be going to the countryside with the troupe tonight and would probably be back after 4 or 5 days. Oh. Out of town? Zhao Yu thought. He felt tense. Why was it so coincidental that Li Dan was rushing out of town at this time? If she was the real culprit of the lost hand case, did this mean that she was going to strike again? Officer, how about this? The old lady tried to cooperate. Let me give my daughter a call and ask her? There's no need for that. Zhao Yu waved his hands immediately. If there was really something wrong with Li Dan, calling her could alert her. It was better to investigate discreetly. He said to the old woman, all right, there's no need to call. My mission is almost complete. I will stop troubling you. He began to walk outside and wanted to call Li Baini quickly. He wanted her to check on Li Dan's location to see if she was with the performance troupe. However, on his way out, he suddenly noticed something was not right. There was a lock on the door of the bedroom next to the living room. Seeing this lock, he stopped and asked, Ma'am, why is this door locked? Oh, this is my daughter's room, the old lady answered truthfully. My daughter cares a lot about cleanliness. Her room is always locked, and nobody is allowed to go in. Not allowed to go in? Zhao Yu got more curious. He asked the old lady if she could open the door to let him take a look. No, definitely not, the old lady waved her hands. My daughter is very against others entering her room, and that includes me. Moreover, the key is always with her, so even I cannot enter. Don't worry. I can open it. Zhao Yu did not care and reached for the lock. No. You really can't, the old lady stood in front of the door, blocking it. I beg you, officer. I'll be honest with you. My daughter is a clean freak. If she finds out that someone has entered her room, she will be very angry. I beg you, my daughter has suffered enough, please don't add salt to her wound. A clean freak? Really? Zhao Yu thought. By this point, Zhao Yu felt that he had to go in and take a look even if he was wrong again. He would not give up. But the old lady was blocking the front of the door, guarding it from Zhao Yu with her life. Facing an old lady like this, it was not possible for Zhao Yu to use force. What should be done? A normal policeman might have been stuck in this situation, but this was nothing for a crafty fellow like Zhao Yu. He came up with an idea fast and immediately asked the old lady with a stern face, Ma'am. Let me ask you, is the cleanliness of her room or the life of your daughter more important? Ah. The old lady was confused. Officer, what do you mean? Zhao Yu took a deep sigh and pretended to be hesitant. Actually, I did not want to say this. But under such circumstances, I have to be honest with you in order to save your daughter's life. The reason why I'm here to find your daughter today is because someone wants to harm her. Ah. The old lady was startled and began to tremble again. Who? Who's the wicked person who wants to harm my daughter? It could be the one who planted the razor blade, or it could be someone else, Zhao Yu lied. Your daughter might have some important evidence, which is why I want to take a look at her room. If the culprit could be arrested soon, wouldn't your daughter be safe? UW Evils Uptez on NOV/L/B.I.com. Oh, I see. The old lady was terrified and confused. She said in a trembling voice, No, I must quickly give my daughter a call and tell her to be careful. No, don't worry. Zhao Yu quickly stopped her, we've already sent some men to protect your daughter. You don't have to worry about this, but I need to take a look at your daughter's room. How about this? Believe in my skills, and I guarantee that I won't leave a single trace so that your daughter won't be able to tell. Really? The old lady slowly moved away from the door after hearing Zhao Yu's words. Don't worry. I'm a professional detective. Zhao Yu smiled happily and walked to the door. Without using a screwdriver or anything, he held the door frame with one hand and forced open the lock. See, the lock is not damaged. I'll fasten it again when I come out and everything will be fine. Zhao Yu signaled okay with his hand to the old lady. He had done numerous lockpicking activities in the past, so naturally he was good at it. The door squeaked open, and there was a smell akin to that of resin. A neat and tidy room was vividly in front of Zhao Yu. Although the room was furnished very simply, everything was placed neatly, and the window was spotless. It was evident that the owner not only liked cleanliness, but was also a very meticulous person. Although Zhao Yu was inexperienced in criminal investigation, he was good at observing people. Just from this glance, he became aware that Li Dan's character seemed to match the psychological profile of the culprit of the Lost Hand case. The culprit was also meticulous, calm, and level-headed, someone who had the ability to execute all of the details with perfection. Zhao Yu stepped into the room. The old lady wanted to follow him in but was stopped by Zhao Yu. Zhao Yu told her to look from outside the door as the chances of her daughter discovering would increase if more people came in. The old lady looked from the outside obediently. The room was not big and there was little furniture inside. Other than a big, old-fashioned wooden bed, there was a wine cabinet, a wardrobe, and a bookshelf. The design of the furniture was old, but they were well-maintained and timeless. After a simple observation, Zhao Yu felt that searching the bookshelf was necessary if he wanted to find any information. There were many books on the bookshelf and each book was clean and intact. The books had been carefully categorized by Li Dan. From the categories and book titles, Zhao Yu could tell that Li Dan read extensively, from literature and science to technology and medical science. For medical science there were actually a few books on anesthesiology and anatomy. The moment he saw these books, Zhao Yu could not help but feel agitated. He was about to take a book when he suddenly heard the old lady shout at the door, "Officer, why aren't you wearing gloves?" That's all for this part, truckers. See you all in next video.